Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are on a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com.
What happened when?
WHW Monday. And now, let's go to the ring. And here's your co-host. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When? With the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone. Tony, what's going on, man? How are you?
Conrad is great. It's Thanksgiving week. As this drops, it'll be the day before Thanksgiving, and I'm doing great. I hope you are. I know you're planning a big celebration at the Conradison. That should be pretty cool.
Man, we're going to have 22 folks in. It's like Fat Guy Christmas. You know, it's Christmas without all the pressure of getting presents, all the great food, all the great fun, all the great family, and once upon a time, all the great wrestling. It is a What Happened When tradition. Every Thanksgiving, we go back in time and watch a Starrcade. And boy, how fitting is it that we've been covering all things 1986 this year, and we're going out this year with Starrcade 86 as the granddaddy of them all, and we're not doing it alone, Tony.
No, we got a very special guest with us, a guy who's a very good friend and a friend of the podcast. And, of course, for you guys and gals who were on Top Guy Weekend, you got to meet him personally, and that is David Crockett. Hey, David.
Hey, Tony, how are you? Conrad, how are you doing today?
Better than we deserve. We're so excited to be here with you. We're pumped to watch Starrcade 86.
Oh, I'm pumped too. I am ready for this. That's a lot of history. Definitely a lot of history there. And what great matches. Really, the fans in 1986 Starrcade, they got more than they were asking for.
Well, I think all of our listeners have more than we were asking for. You know, people are used to just watching this with Tony and I. And now we've got David Crockett and Tony Schiavone back together. Tony, it's hitting me in my 1986 feels.
It feels good. It really does. It feels good to go back. And David, you're right. The fans were into everything that we did back then in Atlanta and in Greensboro. And as we go along here, we'll talk to you about the, the challenges that you had, because I know you worked in production during the show.
Yes, I did.
The challenges that you had to have two telecasts going at the same time or from two different arenas.
And the communication back and forth.
Absolutely.
With talent. And, you only had a certain length of time.
Right.
That and trying to get all that to work.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. Really.
Yeah, something else.
The stress I loved.
Yeah, that's right. Believe you me, there is stress in putting wrestling on TV. And I know because it even happens today. So, but it's the nature of the business.
Yes.
I say that so many times that when they say, how do you get this done? I say, well, here's one thing that we always know about the wrestling business. When you got a live show and airtime hits, you're going to go on the air, regardless if you're ready or not, you're going to go on the air. Right.
Yeah, and there's no ending that you actually know, and that you come on the air and you think you know the matches, but things happen.
Well, boy.
Yeah.
There.
During, talent's talent, wrestlers are wrestlers, and they're human. So, that's the fun part. And then technical too, the satellite can go out, the power can go out.
Mm-hmm.
All that's happened before. Mics go out.
Mm-hmm.
You name it, it's going to happen at some point.
Well, it's going to happen for us today. We're going to be watching season 4, episode 1 of Starrcade on Peacock. That's stupid. So here, let us explain. It's Starrcade 86, and we are super excited to be here with you. Of course, this show went down in not one, but 2 arenas on Thursday, November 27th, 1986. So as people are watching this, Tony, this Saturday will be the 35th anniversary. Does that make you feel old?
Yeah.
Wow. That does. That does.
Yeah. And not only that, as you know, well, David, and Conrad's finding out because he just turned the big 40. The older you get, the faster time goes.
Oh, yeah.
It really does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. It does.
Mhm.
I can't believe this year's over with. Really.
I can't either. Yeah. Lois said the other day, didn't we just have a new roof put on the house? I went, yeah, 6 years ago.
Wow.
She went, what? So yeah, 6 years. And that's
But-
how quickly time goes by. So,
Tony, my grandson, James, he's 18 years old.
oh my God.
I mean,
See, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
I have to bring up, we talked earlier, I've got the Bible here, the Red Book,
Yeah, man.
1986.
explain to
yeah.
everybody, Mr. Crockett, what you're holding in your hand.
All right. Starting with my father, every wrestling match that ever happened, he had a red book. This is a red book, a diary, so to speak. Every match, the outcomes and so forth were all in the book. And it progressed every year. Unfortunately, the only books I have left are 1986, 1985, and 1987. It was just, there were too many. And my boss, she said, no more. You can't hold me. It's like Lois. Come on. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. So what'd you do with those books? So what'd you do with the books?
I gave them away.
Conrad.
I know. I'm heartbroken too. So hypothetically, in a loud and clear voice, can you tell me who you gave those away to? I'd just like to program that in my phone. So yeah, we're excited that you're here because you actually sent Tony and I a screen grab of one of those because you found the actual event that we're talking about today, and it had
Oh, yes,
all the
yes.
matches and
Yeah, hold on here. Let me get my wolf. I mean, this 1986 book is what you call very used. Let me see if you guys can see this.
wow.
This is the 1986 Starrcade. It has the running total every day of ticket sales, final, and then all the matches.
So, we've seen Bruce Pritchard keep a record like this when he was booking with Vince back in the day.
Right.
You were writing down houses and advances and the actual card. Did your brother Jimmy keep a book similar to this, or were you?
This was his. This
Oh,
was
okay.
his.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this was his. He was the leader of the company, so he was in charge of the book, and so he didn't want them.
Really?
Did not want anything, and just
It was a sore spot, so he was ready to just done with
yeah, a sore spot, and then two, Turner, when they took us over, they backed up a truck. But I thought they were going to take everything, but they didn't. They didn't take the 16 millimeter film that we shot in Greensboro and other buildings, the 2-inch tape that was all the way back to my father's time. when we used to produce wrestling at WBT in Charlotte, WREL, GHP, and High Point. All those tapes are gone. They didn't want to deal with them. So, and they can't find the tapes that they did tape. You know, Georgia Championship Wrestling, Turner kept one tape, 2-inch tape, and stored it upstairs in Techwood. But they remodeled and sent it to Iron Mountain, and that's gone. Vince doesn't have it.
So I think you and I have mentioned that before to each other off air, but we've never actually talked about it where everyone could hear. Some of our listeners will hear you say that and say, "Hey, what the heck is Iron Mountain?" As you understand it, how was Iron Mountain explained to you?
Iron Mountain is a storage facility that they would take television tapes, films, and store them. You know, that it's conditioned space. In other words, humidity, temperature, it's always constant. So your television tapes and film are not in danger of being destroyed by the elements. You know, people store files.
Yeah.
At Iron Mountain. It's a company.
So as the legend
they're there
goes,
somewhere.
There you go. The old TBS tapes are there. But I am curious, you know, take me through how these transfers, these red books happened. Is this when your brother moved back to Texas, or is this when you guys sold, or years later? When do you remember getting his old books there?
When we sold, it was a combination. The older books he did not take with him to Texas. His books he took to Texas, of course. Then he didn't want to keep them. You know, that when the deal was made with Turner, he said, "That's it." And so it came to an abrupt end.
And he just like shipped you a whole box of wrestling stuff?
I went to Texas and sort of cleaned the office there and took different things. The people from Turner went down there too to see what was available. And, you know, that's a shame because too, if you remember, we bought Mid-South.
Yeah.
So all those tapes were sitting at the station there in Dallas. Don't know what happened to those. I know Turner didn't take them. Think about that.
Yeah. So
maybe Bill Watts has them.
It's worth an ask.
Yeah.
What all was in Dallas that would make Turner want to come out and take a look? Is it just files, or was there more to it than that in the office out there?
More files. All production was basically done here, except, you know, the tapes that Mid-South had, and we would work on some things there. But as far as any production, basically production, the shows, interviews.
Well, Tony, it's pretty remarkable to think all these years later, not only do we have Mr. David Crockett with us for Starrcade 86, but he's brought along Jimmy's book. This is about as cool of a guest as we could possibly have for our watch along. And this is a marathon show, boys and girls. So we want you to not only pull it up, but find a time code. We're season 4, episode 1, Starrcade 86. We're 1 hour, 23 minutes and 36 seconds. Without us starting here, this would have been a 4-hour affair, Tony.
Yeah.
And candidly, at my advanced stage, I would peter out. So I'm glad that you guys decided to acquiesce to me and let us trim this up a little bit. So we're at 1 hour, 23 minutes and 36 seconds. And Tony, I think you have a very special countdown for us today.
Yeah, we're gonna have our buddy and David. We have our friends who are low-key big hogs and our fans do our countdown for us. So we're gonna have another one from DJ Turner out of Atlanta. It's a very involved, long countdown, so please bear with us on that. You'll enjoy this, David. Here are the matches that we are not going to, by the way, not going to show you, because with the exception of one of them, most of them were just
Sort of there.
they were. Yeah, they weren't main event matches. It started out with Tim Horner and Nelson Royal against Rocky Kernodle and Don Kernodle, Brad Armstrong and Jimmy Garvin, Hector Guerrero and Baron Von Raschke against Shaska and the Barbarian, Crusher and Ivan against the Kansas Jayhawks, Wahoo McDaniel against Rick Rude in an Indian strap match, and Sam Houston and Bill Dundee for the Central States title. So those 6 matches we will not bring you, but we will start with Jimmy Valiant against Paul Jones, because we spent a lot of time on that one, and that was the first match announced, and that's going to be the hair of Paul Jones against the hair of Big Mama. Ha. So, so with that in mind, if
I'm
everybody...
glad it was just the hair.
Yeah, I bet you are. Okay, so I'm getting the spinning wheel of death right now, so give me a second, and we'll...
But while we're waiting on Tony's technology to catch up, because he does live in the backwoods of Marietta, I do want to ask Mr. Crockett, this is really the first year that we saw any departure from Greensboro. Starrcade 83, 84, and 85 had been a Greensboro only event. And in 86, we still have a show in Greensboro, and it is a sellout, 16,000 fans.
Right.
But now Starrcade is a two event show. We've also got the Omni, and we've got 14,000 fans there in Atlanta. Who had the vision for, let's make this bigger than just one town? Let's go beyond Greensboro. Let's go to the Omni.
Jimmy and Dusty, they did. And, you know, I went, okay. I don't think they had an idea of what it was going to entail. You know, they just said, give it to Mikey, he can make it work. So I made it work. You know, but it was a challenge, you know, especially for them. You know, you have 2 people that want to be in control. And if they're sitting in Greensboro and their matches in Atlanta, guess what? You really aren't in control as far as the time and so forth. And that's the thing that was scaring me, is time as far as the individual matches and delay. We were using audio and communication on we call it the sideband of the uplink, back and forth to communicate, because they'd have like J.J. Dillon or Sandy Scott in Atlanta, and they were in Greensboro, or vice versa. So, you know, it was fun to listen to while I was in the truck.
So just so I'm clear.
Oh man, too bad they couldn't record those conversations.
Yeah.
That's the feed we want to hear today, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
You, to be clear, Mr. Crockett, for the best of your recollection, you were in the truck in Atlanta for this event?
Yes. Yes.
And Tony, where were you for this event?
I was in Atlanta. I was in Atlanta, and I was one of the 2 announcers in Atlanta. The other guy was the kid from Central States. I can't remember his name, Rick something. He and I worked that show together. And I think it was Bob Cottle and Johnny Weaver in Charlotte doing the commentary. I believe that's the way it happened.
And Mr. Crockett, you believe that Dusty and your brother, they were both in Greensboro?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And see, they also had to take a plane from Greensboro to Atlanta. Isn't that right, Tony? They wanted to be part of that towards the end.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that, you know, is different too. Think about, you know, taking a plane, a jet,
the show.
doesn't matter what,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to take off, and are there delays? Is there weather? You know, and then that length of time, let's say it's at least an hour, you know, or more, they're in flight out of communication.
Yeah.
You don't think they had the pucker factor? Oh, Lord.
More than usual. They always had the pucker factor.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. But more than usual. So,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
some great stories about trying to get this on the air, and it worked, obviously. And as you can see, you'll be able to see from the graphics, and it was really old school stuff. I
Yes,
I
yes.
love old school stuff. I was just watching on YouTube yesterday morning, game 1 of the 1973 World Series, and just
Wow.
watching it for the graphics or the lack thereof, and how they did their broadcast back then. It's just amazing how things have changed. So
I get it. It's a wrestling podcast, but he's saving us money on our mortgage. Do you really trust this process? The reviews don't lie. 5-star review after 5-star review. We make it fast, we make it easy, and it's no cost or obligation. Give us a shot to earn your business. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did, especially if you like keeping more of your own money. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket, so what are you waiting for? Hurry to savewithconrad.com.
okay, guys, if you're ready, David, DJ Turner is going to give us a countdown. Now, listen closely, because at the end of this, he is going to give us a countdown. You're going to think, what the hell's he talking about? But he will give us a countdown.
Eventually. Yeah,
We'll get there eventually. Are you ready? Everybody ready?
All right.
All right, here we go.
Welcome back to the Shoe Show, players. I go by the name of DJ Turner, but I will be supplying your music for today. Kids are wide open, bar wide open, sexy ladies all around. Checking back in, we got Diamond back on the check. Wait, hold on. To the owner of a red Volvo, license plate, bring back Tony Reed's rap. Gotta move your car. Once again, red Volvo, gotta move your car. It's an oddly specific license plate. Anyway, we got Diamond on the check-in. Go ahead, get your ones right. We can get her in the right attire. Oh, it's Conrad and Tony. What's up? Oh, what's up, Tony? Oh, the restroom? Is that what you're looking for? That's on the other side of the building. I hope you can make. I hope you can. Wait, Tony, not right. Oh. Guess we find out who done it. Clean up on aisle 6. While we get that cleaned up, let's get to this countdown. 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next event is a fight to the finish. Hair versus hair. The hair of Big Mama versus the hair of Paul Jones. Under the contractual agreement, the Raging Bull will be locked in a cage suspended. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing first, in the corner to my right, from Houston, Texas, weighing in at 238 pounds, accompanied by the Raging Bull, this is Paul Jones. Everybody's main man from New York City. Jimmy Valiant.
So they locked the Raging Bull into a cage. That was kind of a last-minute thing, because we didn't really talk about that on TV, but that was pretty cool. Tom Miller was a hell of a ring announcer, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He oh man, Truckin' Tom.
Truckin' Tom, buddy.
Yep. He was a radio announcer for WBT AM,
Right,
Clear Channel Station.
right.
What
All
12
the
to
truckers.
6 a.m. Yeah, all the truckers.
Yep.
And here you see the Raging Bull saying, nope, I'm going to sit right here on the outside of the ring. And there's Baby Earl arguing, nope, you got to get in this
Baby
cage.
Earl.
You got to get over here. You got to get in this cage. How hot was this Greensboro crowd for Boogie Woogie Man?
I think this was Charlotte. I
Well, the
think.
show's
No,
in-
you're right. It was.
No, yeah,
It was Greensboro,
yeah.
because I was the ring announcer in Atlanta. So very good. Yeah, but no, you're right. They were hot, man. Conrad, they always were hot, weren't they, David?
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
Greensboro wasn't him.
Yeah, Greensboro was electric. They
Right.
came there to yell and scream and let their tension go.
Okay. So you see the Baron and Tim Horner, Nelson Royal are there. They all have had matches earlier. Here comes Wahoo. Spirit
Oh.
of 76, buddy.
There you go.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, what a priceless person.
What a man, buddy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Crockett, did you guys have a nickname for that shark cage apparatus that we see the Raging Bull being suspended in?
Well, that's a good thing. Shark cage. I mean, it could be a shark cage because it's solid steel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think maybe didn't Dusty call it Betty Lou at one time when they put JJ
he
in it?
might have. He might have. Yeah.
Yeah. What I remember about that shark cage more than anything else was we put it right beside you and I one time, and this was 85 when we first started and in Atlanta at the studio,
Mhm.
and Dusty had JJ dressed up in a gorilla suit.
Oh
Okay.
God.
And we put him, we
I
put
wish
him
you
in-
could find that tape.
I'm sure we can find it somewhere.
Oh,
And-
got to.
Yeah. And I stuck the microphone and they said, you need to interview the gorilla. I said, okay. And then I stuck the microphone in front of the gorilla. And the only thing the gorilla said was, because I remember Dustin, that's all gorillas do, right? The only thing they do is go. So that's what they did.
Oh me.
Now this match is not going to go long here.
No, and this is an unusual match. I mean, good grief, Paul Jones and Boogie Woogie Man.
Long.
He
feud.
still has the same tights, by the way. Boogie Woogie Man, guaranteed.
I bet he does. I bet he
Yeah,
does.
Brother, I'm sure he does, brother.
He's a lot thinner now.
Oh my God. Is he ever?
What's Big Mama up to these days? You guys know?
No,
Don't know. I know at one time she had a florist shop. But
yeah,
I
Big
don't know what
Mama's
she does now.
Flowers, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they had a daughter who was absolutely. I mentioned this on telecast before on our podcast. Was absolutely gorgeous. Their daughter. I can't remember her name, but
Uh-oh.
oh, there you
Well,
go.
Paul's got his.
That's it.
Yeah.
Looks like a damn dirty cheater. That Paul Jones.
Not Paul Jones. But see, right now he's taking too much time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Jimmy done juiced. So, Jimmy, obviously Valiant, was not the greatest worker in the world. His promos were the best.
Yes.
And a lot of times he didn't 1, 2, he kicks out. Now, a lot of times he didn't go long. And I remember talking to Dusty one time, and I just remember this. I don't remember the conversation or how it was. That Jimmy Valiant, right after this, they didn't use him that much. And Dusty wasn't pleased the fact that Jimmy didn't want to go long in these matches. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Well, for one thing, he couldn't. He was not in condition to do it.
Right.
You would think just being in the ring almost every night that you would, but he just,
Yeah.
He didn't, and two, with this, Paul is out of shape.
Yeah.
So
He's a manager, right? I mean, he's
Yeah.
right. And Paul had been wrestling for, gosh, he'd been around, and especially in the Mid-Atlantic territory with you guys
since we were kids.
Yeah, long, absolutely.
Really. I mean,
Yeah, right.
I mean, he was with Rip Hawk and Sweet Hansen.
Yeah,
days and
absolutely.
Bronco Lubitsch.
Wow. There's some old. Yeah, Paul had been around for a long, long time,
Mhm.
and had been in selling Amway for most of that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Then he stopped wrestling and opened a garage.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Until he passed away, he had a garage.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul was really an easygoing guy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just
The good
always,
old days.
yeah.
always talk
That's
to you.
right. Yeah.
Always in the back there with the dip in, spitting in the cup.
Quite a few had a dip
Yeah. Oh
in
my God.
spit,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know there was a lot of cleanup of the spit in the cups on Wednesdays after we did our interviews.
And that's one reason they hated us at the studios there in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Because all the spit cups left around on people's desk.
Oh God.
Talk to me, David, about I see
Yeah, got the gimmick.
the weapon that Paul Jones had been hiding is now in the hands of Boogie Woogie. Talk to me about production for this show. You know, just what your role was, the stresses you're going through that day, your experience at this very moment. You're in the truck out in the back of the building. Is that right?
In Atlanta.
Yeah.
And we're we have 2 television crews, so making sure that we did our camera checks, audio checks before anything went on. I guess we started about noon working on making sure everything was correct. The lighting, mic in the rings. They're cutting it. They're cutting his hair.
Yeah, I'm gonna shave him,
Yeah.
go make him a bald-headed geek. And David, you worked in the truck with Emerson Lawson, Wayne
Yes.
Daniel. I
Yeah,
guess
Wayne was ran tape and God, Wayne could talk your ear off, but man, he's good. He was,
Yeah, I know.
good at in the tape machine.
Yeah,
He grabbed highlights.
yeah, quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. And we had, remember Brenda Evans did the video for us,
Yeah.
the video
the
font for us.
Chiron. Yeah.
Chiron,
and,
yeah. Brenda
yeah.
worked in the office.
Yeah. Emerson was doing the TD. I actually directed Atlanta.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, you mentioned Jeff Bornstein with the lights. Was Jeff with us back at that time?
No, Jeff wasn't.
Okay.
Jeff was not with us.
Okay.
Al Smith.
Al Smith. Yep.
Our lighting packages then were not like they were with WCW.
Right. Sure.
Yeah, we just had park hands. Now I did get Verilight for Atlanta I rented. Here we go, Manny. Of course. Of course, got to do that.
Well, David, the staging, the setting was not as critical as it was. There's Rick Rude.
Yeah, we wanted everyone. The match was the most important part, not the entrance, so to speak.
Right.
We wanted the fan to hear, everything that was going on, sound wise, and then my biggest concern. Oh, you got him. Biggest concern was the cameraman. You get a normal camera. Look at Paul. Oh, bald-headed geek. But going back to that, but see, because we didn't have a lot of lights, that's why it's so dark.
Sure.
We had basic park and lighting package around.
Right. Lighting the ring.
Here's Wally Deuce. You want to talk about tough son of a
Yeah,
bitch.
he was. I've mentioned Wally many times. Wally Dusick. As a matter of fact, along that front row, we saw Wally Dusick, we saw Tom Miller, and then we saw Bob Cottle and Johnny Weaver there as well. Yeah, you're right. But the lighting back then was just to light the ring. It didn't need to light the entrance. There wasn't pyro. You didn't have to light the fans different colors to make it seem like there were a lot of. You didn't have to light to show people there are a lot of fans, because there were a lot of fans. You could hear them. Yeah,
that's right. And we didn't have to mic the fans. It's
right.
They were so loud that you put a couple of mics up to left and right of what I call the heart cams. That was the audience. There's Jimmy.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Crockett, talk to us a little bit about just the way you're competing with Vince McMahon. I mean, you've sort of laid out that, hey, this is the way we lit things and shot things, and the entrance wasn't as important as the matches and blah, blah, blah. But we know Vince is going to start leveling up production. I don't know. I mean, 86, certainly he was trying to, but it feels like 87, 88, it really started to level up production wise for the World Wrestling Federation. That sort of falls on your direction a little bit. Were you trying to keep up in any shape, form, or fashion with what Vince was doing at the time?
Some of it, lighting wise, I knew I could not, because the amount of money he was spending. I actually had a budget, when it was our company. When I went to WCW, Ted's thing was just, make it happen, period.
Yeah,
And
right.
so, money was not an object. But with us, it was, we wanted you to see the match, see the ring, and, the fans and their reaction, that you could hear it, but we didn't necessarily, you didn't need to see it, see them. You could hear them.
Right. We saw the wrestlers going into the dark right there.
Right.
Yeah.
And two, that entrance takes away time from the match in the ring.
Yeah.
That I think Hogan, when he was WWE, half his match was going to the ring.
Sure.
And just about everybody else. So
are you saying, David, that you really thought that was the wrong way to go? You thought that maybe what was in the ring was more important than the entrance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus I knew I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Money wise.
Right.
That
I'm fascinated by that, Mr. Crockett, because for years the narrative has been you guys perhaps overspent on things like the Great American Bash Tour and some of the musical acts and the stadium.
we did.
And then,
we did.
And then the
now, see, now that's totally that. That's when, I said, golly, to Jimmy and Dusty, I said, you're spending $2 million to make $1 million. Something's wrong with this.
Yeah.
When you do the Great American Bash and the country acts singing, and I mean,
and all the travel to get to those places.
And the scaffold match.
Oh, that's coming up later.
God.
So we alternated back then,
right,
between the Omni and the Greensboro Coliseum, of course. And
yes. Now, see, I had more lights here,
right,
in Atlanta, because
you can see the crowd.
Yeah, you can see the crowd. I had Verilights. I was getting back to. I saw. What was the group?
Oh, let's take a listen to Bob Taylor here.
Great wrestling coming up in the holiday season with the second annual Bunkhouse Stampede. 20 men in the ring at one time, and the winner will be the last man standing. And now, here to tell you all about this second annual Bunkhouse Stampede is Nelson Royal.
Howdy, partner. Come on and have a cup of coffee. I'm glad you could make it, because I've been asked to explain a few things about a bunkhouse stampede match, and I consider myself an authority on it. But I was in the first one that was ever held in Texas, and I came out of it with a broken arm. And where they derived from was in the western part of the country, where you had 10, 15, 20 men living in a bunkhouse, something like this behind us here. And when you put men that close together, you've got to have problems. You had a lot of bad blood between some people. When there was no other way to settle it, you did one thing. You went outside, and you went the way you were. You might have your boots on, you might have your jeans, have your shirt, your spurs, whatever. And that's how you went out. And your winner of something like that was the man that was left standing. And now they've come along, like I said, a few years ago, and they had this bunkhouse stampede. Dory Funk Sr. had it in Texas. And it's one of the wildest things you'll ever see in your life. The second worst thing that you can be in, and most dangerous match, is a battle royal, where you've got 20 men in the ring, and the only way that you can be eliminated is to be thrown over the top rope. Well, you take these two and you combine them, put them together, and you've got something that's really a deadly match. Because money, greed, and bad blood make things a lot tougher than what they really are. Because you've got men that come in this ring, and like I said, they can bring anything they want to bring. There are virtually no rules. There's nothing to stop a man from doing anything. He can bring a cowbell. He can bring a good branding iron. Do whatever he wants. Because when you get into this type of match, you have no friends, because there's no such thing as a friend when you're in that. You have to watch your back, your front, everything about you. You're in danger of being hurt. You get broken legs because of people flying around in the ring. Like I said, when there's money involved, there's a lot of things can happen, and the only way that you can be a winner in this, you've got to be the last man standing in the middle of the ring. And when I say the last man standing, mister, that is a problem within itself. And believe me, when you can only be eliminated from this match is to throw you over the top rope. And then when you're the last man standing in the middle of the ring, then brother, you can call yourself the bull of the woods, and then you are the man.
So there you see it, the second annual Bunkhouse Stampede coming in December. Tony, it's been a long time since I've seen that promo. What do you make of that from Nelson Royal?
Well, that was obviously shot up in Mooresville, where Nelson was from.
Yes,
I vividly, David, remember that. I also want to say that for Bob Taylor, goodness, Bob was my color guy with the Charlotte O's.
That's right.
So that's how I remember Bob. Bob and I did the Charlotte O's games together, and obviously this is, well, now as we move on, David, from here, this is into December and into the new year. This is going to be the focus. We've had the Great American Bashes, we went with the Starrcade, and now the Bunkhouse Stampedes. And I also saw a very young David Crockett standing in the ring, with Dusty Rhodes there, presenting Dusty Rhodes that check to win the Bunkhouse Stampede.
That's, boy.
Yeah.
Now here we go.
Well, so
New Orleans. Let's take a listen here.
Indiana, the home of the first ever Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup, the greatest international tag team wrestling tournament of all time, featuring wrestlers from all over the world competing for the Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup and that $1 million prize to the team that could outlast all the others in the New Orleans Superdome. Let's take a look down memory lane and review some of the great action from those great matches in Louisiana in April. Nelson Royal and...
So, Mr. Crockett, you know, this is prime time for you guys. You know, you've had the success of being on TBS for over a year now. The Rock and Roll Express are fresh off of their Super Summer Sizzler tour, which exceeded all expectations. You've set a series of records. You've expanded your Great American Bash concept from one show to a 13-city tour. Now Starrcade is too big for just one place too. We've not just got a sold-out crowd in Greensboro, but now 14,000 or so in the Omni. Is this the hottest year in the history of Jim Crockett Promotions?
I'm going to have to say yes. You know, that it, but also I think in some cases it might have been the beginning of the end too. You can, oh, there's Bubba. Isn't that Bubba?
And
That's
Tiger
him.
Mask.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
How about that? That's from New Orleans.
Yeah.
Earlier in the year.
You know, in New Orleans with the cup, you know, we were at that point, we were trying to get some of the other NWA alliances, promotions to be part. I guess you going back to Bob?
Sure.
Yeah.
Your pleasure. It'll be Friday, April the 10th and Saturday, April the 11th at the Baltimore Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. The second annual Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup. 2 nights of great wrestling action. The greatest tag team wrestlers from all over the world.
At 2 o'clock today, we began with 24 teams. We now have 2 remaining. 1 fall to a finish for $1 million. And the Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup, which is at ringside with us right now.
Mr. Crockett, any idea where that old Crockett Cup wound up after all these years?
It was at Turner. They had it upstairs above CNN Center in the display area. That's the last time I saw it.
Uh-oh. Now, David, damn it, I'm going to be charged to go down to Techwood.
Yep.
And try to pry it loose from them with a check from Conrad Thompson.
These are all facts.
I'm sure that, you know, once we were sold, they no telling what they did with it.
Yeah, right.
but that's where it was.
Yeah. So the Road Warriors, there you go. Go ahead, Bob.
In Baltimore Memorial Arena on Friday, April the 10th and Saturday, April the 11th, when the second annual Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup takes place in 1987. And now let's go back to the ring and hear the final moments of that first great championship match.
They call it a championship match, but really it's the Crockett Cup.
Right.
And we've got very young Tony Schiavone there. Let's track it.
There's Mom.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined by Mrs. Jim Crockett Sr., Jim Crockett, the president of Jim Crockett Promotions, Mr. Bill Watts, the president of the Universal Wrestling Federation. Mrs. Crockett.
Great line here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I am delighted to present this first Jim Crockett Memorial Cup to these two champions.
They clipped out where she called them the Road Runners, which is great.
Yeah, that's tremendous.
Guess what? She can call them anything she wants.
Damn right she could. Yeah.
How cool is it you guys are announcing tickets for the next year right there?
Oh yeah, and ticket sales did well.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Yeah, at intermission at Greensboro, tickets would go on sale for the next Starrcade.
Yeah.
Yeah, which first time we did it, I was amazed at the number of people that bought.
A year in advance, they would sell the tickets, you're saying?
Yes, not knowing what the matches were going. They just knew it would be good, and they wanted to get their seats.
Right.
So awesome.
It is. I mean,
yeah. I want to say something for a second about Mrs. Crockett because David, I spent a number of dinners, parties at your mom's house. She always had a party or had a dinner. But her house was in the Myers Park area. If correct me if I'm wrong on this, David. And didn't she have a tree growing in the middle of the house?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was Jimmy and Mom's house.
Okay.
She had the tree, and when it rained, she'd call me over saying, all right, we need to figure something, because you couldn't actually keep the tree from moving.
Right.
When the rain started coming in,
Yeah. I've never heard of that. Have you, Conrad? I know you deal in real estate and mortgages. A tree right in the middle of the house. I don't know if it's
I know of one house like that. I actually know of a house in Gunnersville that actually has a creek running through it.
Okay.
Wow.
It was designed around that creek and the tree, but yes, a little unusual, but very, very cool. And just adds to the legend, right?
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does.
Neat
So
lady.
Jimmy,
Neat
so
lady.
yeah, something else, man.
So what you said, it was Jim and your mom. So your brother and your mom shared a home?
Yes.
Okay.
It was because about that time, Jimmy's wife left him.
Right.
And so Jace, his son, so Mom just said, well, I'm going to move in.
Yeah.
And
he was glad to have the help, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, So she ruled the roost.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. It was her. Yeah. You might say it was her house.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's listen to Mr. Cornette here.
I present now my personal bodyguard, 6'8", 357 pounds, the baddest man in the world, Big Bubba Rogers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Louisville street fight. There is no time limit. The battle can commence anywhere in the Omni floor. The way you lose is either by a pinfall or a 10 count. The opponent for Big Bubba is from Atlanta, Georgia. 236 pounds. The man with the hands of stone, Ron Garvin.
You can tell that was a Georgia accent he had, right?
What, Ron Garvin? Yes, he did.
Oh man.
We had Ronnie Garvin on, David, a week before, last week here on this on our podcast, and we asked him about working for the Crockett's, and he wanted to talk about working for your father because that's when he first started.
Right.
He had a lot of great things to say about your dad and about Crockett Promotions before you and Jimmy took over the company after your dad passed away. So obviously Ronnie Garvin had been pretty entrenched in the Crockett Promotions.
Oh, yes, definitely. He had his trailer business that he would build trailers, horse trailers, just, as a pastime.
Uh-huh.
And just to me, great guy, and when he hit guys, it, I think we were talking about they want to do it open fist or something. Ronnie, he's going to connect a little bit. Yeah, you will have to take a little bit of punishment.
Right. Well, he told us, Conrad, and this is something that really you think about. We talked to Ronnie. We said, because we saw so many matches, we've watched so many matches from the TBS studios where he would take these guys and actually, stretch them. Be really, really rough with them. Yeah. And he said, yeah, I did, because that's the way I was brought into the business. The older guys in the business, when I came in and I was just a young guy, he said, they used to stretch me. So I thought that was a way of indoctrinating you into the business. So that's very old school, the way he did it, but I loved it.
Oh, I did too. I mean, and they fought it. You could see them, those job guys that come in knowing they're going to get killed.
Yeah.
And, they're putting their hands up and he backs them to that rope. Yeah, he and John Valentine just crush him. Now, he lives in West Virginia now, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. We talked to him. He and his family were driving to Florida. Shows you how tight he still is, because I know he can afford to fly to Florida. But they were driving to Florida, and so he does live in West Virginia. And I think I have a good feeling that Ronnie saved most of his money.
Oh, yes.
So he's probably got his own little mountain in West Virginia somewhere.
I'm sure he does. Matter of fact, he when I saw him, I forget where it was, maybe Baltimore. He was talking about West Virginia, his mountaintop.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was very nice. He wanted us to stay in touch with him. Me and Rick Stewart, I remember his name now. Rick Stewart's the commentator with me, and Charlie McGowan is there with the headset on, keeping time at ringside. But Ronnie Garvin was really, truly one of the nicest guys, and he wants to stay in touch. And, by golly, I'm going to stay in touch, because he's just, he was a good man.
Yes.
And of course,
I like the information. I'd like to stay in touch with him.
Okay. I'll send you his information.
Yeah.
I will.
Mr. Crockett, when we were catching up with Mr. Garvin, very classy gentleman. He was clear not to want to throw anybody under the bus, but you could certainly read between the lines that he felt like, the Crockett promotion was changing a little bit in this era. And maybe there were some political problems between himself and Dusty Rhodes. Do you remember any unrest from Mr. Garvin in this era?
Well, Dusty had his favorites, and, Ron, old school. And no, he's not, he's not going to suck up. Ron's not going to do that. And if he thinks something's wrong, he's going to tell you.
Yeah.
So that caused tension, I guess you might say. Ron was right in doing what he did. He wasn't going to bastardize himself or anyone.
Yeah.
And I assume when you say doing what he did, you mean in terms of leaving and going to work for Vince?
Yes.
Yeah. He showed up with Vince, I guess, shortly after I went up there. And they really didn't use Ronnie that much. But again, Ronnie was, he was a little bit older than most at that time. But you're right. He mentioned us, he used the word politics a lot.
Yeah.
And we were talking to him, and obviously he was talking about the booking and Dusty. When wrestlers talk about politics, a lot of times you can read between the lines. Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm doing that with Ronnie, but when they say politics, they're just saying, I don't like the way I've been booked. That's all. Kinda.
Right.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah.
Every time I see them, which hadn't been that often, it was Ricky Morton would always bring up about, when we had matches in Greensboro and Charlotte, and Charlotte outdrew Greensboro, and it was the Rock and Roll Express against the Midnight Express, and
Right.
Dusty was in Greensboro. So,
Right.
it was ha, ha, ha. So,
Yeah.
tension, egos,
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah. Politics. And
Yeah.
you'll be glad to know, David, that egos, tension, and politics are still alive today in the wrestling business. They have gone nowhere.
Some things never change.
Absolutely never change.
Never. I've watched, and I could see, at first, I was saying, okay, yeah, everybody's, on the same page, but there are a lot of different agendas I see.
Yeah.
In AEW now.
Yeah. Well, everybody wants to be on top.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to win their matches, and it just doesn't happen for everybody. It was very unique, this whole situation of this arena here at the Omni, because the scaffold was in place, and obviously you had to have cameramen work around the scaffold.
Yes.
And there you see your brother Jackie on the far side running the camera.
Right.
With the cameras. We also had, and I think he recently passed away. Was it
Skeeter?
Skeeter
Yeah.
Brawley? Was that his last name?
That's right. Skater.
He was out of South Carolina.
Yeah, Columbia, with Toby Jenkins.
Right.
And God, trying to figure out who else was audio, and
Yeah, I don't remember I don't remember any of the other guys, but
yeah. And there's Woody, the cameraman. The photographer.
Photographer, yeah.
Yeah.
I knew who he was. I remember seeing him, but I didn't remember his name was Woody.
Yeah, and worked for the Observer too.
Wow, the Charlotte Observer. Yeah. Yeah. Is there still a Charlotte Observer?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey.
Thin paper. It's a thin paper.
I know.
Like so many of them.
The Atlanta Journal-Constitution has morphed into the thrifty nickel, basically.
But it doesn't cost a nickel.
No, it doesn't.
A little bit more. More.
It's amazing that the newspapers and radio, which back in that day in '86 were a big part of everything, is not so much anymore. Of course, the internet and TV rules all. So
yeah. All right. What happened to Bubba? Do you know where he is?
He passed away.
Right, I know, but now didn't he go to Vince?
Oh yeah, he became a big star. He became the big boss man.
Yeah.
Then he came back to WCW. You'll recall, and he had so many different gimmicks then. But Conrad, do you remember when he passed away off the top of your head?
I think it was 04.
04?
September 22nd, 2004.
Okay.
Wow. He was only like 41 years old when he passed away too.
Yeah.
Way, way too young. But here we are in 86, and 86 is really kind of the story of Big Bubba, because we actually saw him on TBS early in the year. Tony and I did, as an enhancement talent.
Yes.
And he took a slingshot suplex from Tully Blanchard, and allegedly that got the attention of Dusty Rhodes, and they thought, hey, we got to do something with this kid. And he became the heavy for Jim Crockett, or Jim Cornette rather. And
Cornette bought into him. Come on. I mean, if Cornette didn't like him, didn't want to deal with him, he could have killed him,
sure,
interview wise. But, he saw him, what he could do with him. Cornette, I wish he were still traveling, because, he's got the gift of gab. He's creative. I saw him missing, that obnoxious attitude of his.
Well, you can always check out his podcast if you want to hear some obnoxious attitudes, because there's only one Jim Cornette, man, the way he presents the business. You're right. Jim Cornette was literally one of the most creative guys that ever been around in the wrestling business.
Yeah.
Still today.
Very high strung.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish in an alternate universe, maybe there hadn't been so many hurt feelings so quickly, because Buddy, he would have been outstanding as a part of a contributor for AEW.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. He would have been. I like how this This is, you know what? These two guys, this is a hell of a match going on here.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is showing what Ray Traylor, Big Bubba, could do in less than a year in the business, and how he could sell, how he could do things. Look at him up on the top.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, for a man his size, very agile.
Yeah.
He's like Paul White.
Yeah.
I'm amazed what he could do off that top turnbuckle. They wouldn't let him. Both he and Paul, because they're so big.
You know what amazed me?
Look at that pile driver, broke the belt loops. That was cool.
Yeah,
that was tremendous. And Jim Cornette's gonna load up the Mac and hit Ronnie. Boom.
Down goes Frazier.
And there you go. It was, you know what amazes me about this time, and even David, I've made mention of the fact, and I've talked about this many times. And I want to get your address, by the way, because I want to send you my comic book. What amazes me is when I was a wrestling fan, even in this time, when guys would, in the ring, now I think Tommy Young is telling us first man to his feet is going to win it, is that they could call a match in the ring.
Yes.
And you could not tell that they were doing that. They were so good at talking to each other in the ring, and not today. I see so many guys talk in the ring that it's like, and I know the camera, they've got close-up camera shots now, and it's a different era with so many different cameras and lighting and all that. But I always thought the art was being able to call a match and the fans cannot see you talking.
Yeah.
Today you see a lot of that, but back then, man, hell, I didn't know, obviously, until I started in the business. I didn't know they were talking to each other in the ring. Didn't know it. And I went to hundreds of matches. I spent a lot of money on Jim Crockett promotion.
All right. I like that. I like that.
In the 70s.
And it's an art form, I tried it, for about a year, and it's how you hold your mouth, and also you say other things besides what you're going to be doing in the ring or want to do. And then you have talent. Let's say take Tully wrestling Magnum. Well, they wrestle so much, they saw to know.
Sure. They didn't have to call every spot.
Didn't have to. No, it's the feel.
Right.
That audience, they hear the audience. They have this. What's he doing now? He's loading that thing again.
Loading that. This is the replay.
Replay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just it was an art form, and it still is. It's not. But it's changed a great deal, obviously, from what it used to be.
Well, actually, now they rehearse a lot. Or try to.
Yes, right. All right, we're going to go back to Atlanta now in a first blood match between Dusty and Tully Blanchard.
No, we're back in Greensboro, Tony.
I mean, Greensboro. Sorry.
Yeah. This is not the original music, but it's a cool entrance. Let's track it. We see a lighting treatment and a smoke treatment for Tully Blanchard and JJ Dillon here. Will that have been something that you were a part of, Mr. Crockett?
Yeah, well, you also want, Dusty wanted something. So if I'm going to do something for Dusty, I need to do something for Tully too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just smoke pot, dry ice, and some lighting behind them. That's, park ants and so forth. It was an easy fix.
It's pretty cool to see, where we were with just the presentation of wrestling, the spotlight, the smoke, the special lighting effects. And from a music standpoint, we're not hearing the original music that was played here as we see a shot of Dusty's locker room there. Let's track it here.
The music they originally used, if I'm right, Conrad, was Bob Seger, old time rock and roll.
There's Dusty. And look at it, down the side of the head, it says Tully. Did you have a nickname for this shot where we catch the guy backstage on his way to the ring? I know eventually people would call it the Goldberg shot.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, maybe it was the Tyson shot, but here in '86, was there a nickname for this, Mr. Crockett?
No, not so much. Just backstage.
Yeah. The Dusty ass shot is what it is. I don't know where the hell he's going, man. I don't know.
See, we got some moving lights there. Well, it's really just a beacon turning, just like a lighthouse, and then the smoke, and put a star filter on the camera. Yep. That's why you see the stars there. Dusty has Tully written on the side of his head.
Yeah, man.
And spotlights, that's.
Yeah, spot following him to the ring.
I know it sounds silly, Mr. Crockett, but I got to ask, you guys were just playing Bob Seger. There was no licensing deal in place, right?
Hell no.
Yeah. Just play the music, man.
Yeah. It's not like Ric Flair.
Yeah.
I owe taxes? No, I don't owe taxes.
Hey, it's just like the song for Jimmy Valiant was the Manhattan Transfer and Boy from New York City.
Yeah.
And if you go back to that where we started and see the graphics for Jimmy Valiant against Paul Jones, if you listen quickly, there's a clip of that the WWE left in there. You could hear it.
Oh,
yeah.
Let's listen to Chuck and Tom here.
Championship. This is a fight to the finish, a first blood match. The first man to draw blood from his opponent will win the match. Introducing first in the corner to my right, the challenger from San Antonio, Texas, accompanied by his manager, J.J. Dillon, weighing in tonight, 275 pounds, Tully Blanchard. And now, look out, the world television champion,
Notice Dusty's got the Magnum TA t-shirt on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All right. He's putting a nose guard on, isn't he?
Oh, gotcha.
What is that?
Head guard. I guess I don't know what. Who
First
knows?
blood match, right? So the idea is less likely to bust a cauliflower ear or blah blah blah.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. Hey,
All
David,
right. I'm going to have a question here. I've got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
If you look at this, and then you look at today, what's better as far as, I didn't have all the lighting, but as far as, we're concentrating on the wrestlers look good. The ring looks good.
Right.
What else did I need?
I don't have an answer for that. What else
I
did you
think
need?
less is more. I think everybody listening to this agrees that this is not a better presentation if it's just everywhere you look, it's an LED screen like with WWE.
Right.
Nobody ever said, honey, let's go down and see those LED screens at the arena.
Right.
Yeah.
They're going to see the wrestlers. They're going to see the matches. They want the action. The LED screens are just sort of there.
Yeah.
We had the fastest hour in television. I mean,
for sure.
That all our cameramen, I would tell them, I said, when they go down on the mat and you have a close up, you have to start pulling out as soon as we take you, because they're not going to stay there longer than 30 seconds, if that. And so, we just didn't lay around on the mat. JJ, he does the flop better than anybody.
Look at him.
Now, the legend is in '86, we saw a couple of promos where Arn and Tully would get excited about Baby Doll trying to attack JJ, and with a big shit-eating grin, Tully would say to Arn on TV, and regarding Baby Doll attacking JJ. She must have wanted to meet Johnny Bench. I wonder what that was about, Mr. Crockett. That's a weird story.
Who knows? I don't know myself. You need to ask Tully.
It's the same thing Arn said. It's weird.
Yeah.
Hey, while I've got you, this past year I had a chance to catch up with the Nature Boy himself, and he was telling old Jimmy Crockett stories. And he said I'm supposed to ask you, and I don't know what this means, but what is the tip of the spear?
Spear chucker. Jimmy was the spear chucker.
What does that mean?
You know what it means. Jimmy had a spear, and it wasn't in his hands.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
Somebody has cut JJ here.
Yeah.
yeah. He did a good job.
Now, JJ, you could tell when he was rolling around that he was getting ready to bleed.
Yeah. Yeah.
He got that elbow from Dusty, and so we got a first blood match here, and JJ has obviously drawn first blood of the people in the ring. JJ was he was an organized
yes
son of a gun, man. I really don't know if, I mean, you can't really, his value to Dusty and the business this time is immeasurable.
I agree. Definitely.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because I don't think, if I'm right, David, you know, when Dusty would book the storylines, but when we would have house shows, especially spot shows,
right.
I kind of think, and I kind of think that JJ would end up booking the shows as far as the house shows are concerned. You know, he knew who was on top. He knew what talent he had. So he just kind of put them together, I would think. And then Dusty would approve them. Am I right to say that?
Yes. Yeah. And then you had Sandy Scott.
Right.
Yeah. And Gene Anderson there.
Yeah.
Good old Gene. And Gene was the one, that would always keep the time.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Hey, when I think about my life and I think about being in the back of Crockett Promotions and sharing a office with Sandy Scott and Gene Anderson across the way and Dusty in the corner and then Jimmy and then you, what a wonderful time that was for me.
Oh, yes.
To be associated with all you guys. I mean, it was just, God, it's just.
I'd do it again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
With all the aggravation and some of this, I'd still do it again.
Sure. Sandy Scott passed away, and I never was able to say goodbye to him, and which breaks my heart because Sandy was a good man.
Very good man.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about the Scotts for a minute, Mr. Crockett. You know, a lot of our listeners, boy, they know all about JJ. They know all about Dusty. Of course, everybody talks about you and Tony. I mean, you guys were all staples on TV, but Sandy Scott and George Scott, can you just speak to their contributions over the years for you guys?
They first came to us as wrestling talent. George and Sandy Scott, out of Canada, wrestled tag team. And then George left for a while, if I remember correctly. And then Sandy stayed. And then Jimmy hired George as the booker.
Right.
And we were going through a real low time when he came in. Things just weren't working.
Right.
And changed the whole concept. I mean, that's when he brought Wahoo in.
Right.
John Valentine,
right.
and it took a while, but all of them caught on.
Yeah.
And it did well.
Yeah.
Did well. And then it was strange seeing George and Dusty in the same room.
Right.
and Jimmy trying to balance those balls.
George also, if I'm right, and we're talking about the height of my fandom in the late 70s, mid to late 70s, when George was booking, I think, for the Crockett's. He's the one, didn't he bring in Steamboat and started Ricky Steamboat's career? Am I right about that?
Yes, I want to say yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because Ric is the one. Ric Flair is the
Right.
one that really, because you know, as champion, he would, and then we're trying to get him ready for champion. If he wasn't champion, then he was traveling. That's how Iron got to us. Steamboat, you know, Ric came back and said, "Hey, you know, this guy's not doing anything in Atlanta." Talking about Steamboat,
Mhm.
you need to bring him in, and I'll make it work.
Yeah.
Same thing with Iron. You know
Right.
that you looked. Iron sent that tape in, and you look and say, "Yep, he's an Anderson."
Yeah. Yeah. Sandy had or George Scott had a impact on all that. Now, if I'm right, and I don't know if you can just agree to this. I don't know if you know why, but Sandy and George did not get along at all.
Yes, they were brothers.
They were brothers, but didn't speak to each other.
Wow.
They were brothers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yes, two totally different individuals.
Yeah, I remember just hearing Sandy say to Gene, he says, the way he treated us back then or the way he acted, if you think I'm going to make up with him, you're wrong.
Yeah.
I remember hearing Sandy say that. So it was some very, very serious heat between the two boys.
Yeah, something happened.
Yeah.
In Canada.
Yeah.
You know, to
Yeah.
whatever it was, don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll never know. Don't want to know.
No, never know. And Sandy, a referee bump.
Yep.
And look at Tully looking for any help he can. And there it is from JJ.
The shoe.
But Dusty caught him.
The freaking shoe.
Do his thing. Here we go.
These guys are only going to go about 7 minutes or so.
Another ref bump.
We had another ref bump, didn't we?
Yeah, that's 2. So there only goes.
Here we go. Nah. JJ just lost his shoe.
Of course, many times.
We see Dusty wearing out the forehead of Tully Blanchard here. Remember, it's a first blood match, and
he's trying.
Yeah.
Zip. Did he do it?
I don't know if he did or I think he did. No, he did on the right side of his forehead.
Yeah.
Let's listen to the crowd here.
The referee is still down, face down on the mat. Going now with a towel wiping off the forehead. Vaseline on it. There you see JJ doing it work.
He had Vaseline, a towel, then he reaches in his pants for a gimmick, so to speak, and
coins.
Oh, the roll of coin. That's right. Tully told us that. Remember, Conrad, last week? Yeah, a roll of coins, and they still remember the finish. These guys, and some of the big matches, which I think is amazing.
Well, they were involved with it. Wasn't a yes or no.
Right.
Look at the reaction from Earl. He sees the blood on the head of Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah. There it is.
He saw was Dusty. What's he calling it?
Well, and Dusty's a TV, or Tully's a TV champ now. Yeah. They only go 7 minutes, so Dusty can hop on an airplane with Jimmy and get to Atlanta. Because we still have 3 matches to go here.
Right.
And 2 of them take about an hour or so.
Look at that blood really coming down on Dusty, too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you were saying, and I'm going to put my company over here. You were saying that the guys were involved in the finish. They came up with the ideas. Tony Khan lets them do that now too, which I really appreciate. That's old school stuff. So
yeah, it is, because if you get talent involved, what they first come up with isn't going to be what you finally come up with.
Right.
And, especially when you tell them, all right, we need this to go 6 weeks,
Yeah.
Or just this match. So, then you start that process and them talking, it makes for great matches.
Sure.
Great matches.
When they feel they're a part of the process,
yes,
they're more obviously involved and feel that they're a part of it, which they are obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So there you see the quarters that went flying in the air, and then the Vaseline over on the left that JJ's applying. Dusty opened himself up there.
Yeah.
And that's where Earl Hebner saw, uh-oh, you're bleeding. And we got a TV title switch there. Dusty and Tully had a good run together. I really liked them together. Tully, who obviously you see on TV still, I tell him this all the time, he has remained in tremendous shape. He's 69 years old. He obviously works out, counseling.
He had a match this year.
Prisoners. Yeah, he had a match
this
year.
Yeah, he had a match on TV this year.
Had a match on TV this year. Yep.
Wow.
Unfortunately, the day your brother passed away, Tully came to the ring wearing the old NWA United States Championship, and FTR rounded out his 6-man tag team wearing the old Crockett blue tag titles, and Tully wrestled on TNT this year.
Yeah.
Terrific.
All right. Well, here we go. The famous scaffold match.
Oh, Cornette.
Oh.
This is without question.
These are the Verilites. I got 75 Verilites. Rented those. I spent all night with the operator programming, and you really can't see a damn thing. But it was just for effect.
Yeah. Well, you kind of see him up on top now.
All right. Phil Collins. That's it. Phil Collins. His video, I saw him on that. And I said, I want him.
Okay.
Gary Carnes was the salesman. I can't believe I'm remembering this for Verilite. And I called up and he said, "You're what? With whom?" I said, "Jim Crockett, we're wrestling." And you want to do what? I became a very good customer.
Yeah. Yeah. He didn't ask you your name after that.
Nope.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
This is a very, very, it's a very dangerous place for all these guys.
It is. I mean, think how that is what, 15 feet?
Maybe
20.
Yeah. I don't know. It could be. I don't know how.
I'd have to count the sections.
I think I think as a wrestling announcer, it got higher each and every time we talked about it.
Of course, yeah. It's
10
about
feet,
80 feet in the air now.
15 feet, 20 feet. They're 30 feet in the air, my God. But realistically, and they have that diamond grate or the diamond plate on the top, which obviously helps with the traction, but also can scar and bruise the body when you get hit too.
Oh, yes.
But you obviously much would rather get hit by the diamond plate than you would fall right to the mat.
Or get hit by the Road Warriors. Yeah. It's like a meat grinder.
Yeah,
diamond plates exactly like a meat grinder.
Right.
Look at what we're seeing here. The entrance from the Road Warriors and just straight up the scaffold they go. Obviously back then they were playing Iron Man.
Didn't even.
Well, that didn't last.
No, well, I didn't know why they put it up there. Okay.
And also, nobody practiced on this.
I'm sure. David, that is every bit of 20 feet in the air. That
is.
Yeah.
It's right up there with the lights. Wow. Yeah, I could say, easily say 20 feet. Come on, Jim. Yeah. Talking about somebody that needs knee replacements after this.
Jim is going to blow out his knee here at the end of this match. And I vividly remember it happening because it happened right in front of me.
Yeah, I remember it too. And when he went, he didn't bend. He just stuck it just like a stick.
Well, the idea was Big Bubba was going to catch him, which when he was hanging and swinging there, I knew there's no way Big Bubba was going to catch him. So we'll see it here in a minute, but man, the scaffold match.
Yeah.
I hope we never see that again. I just
Oh, you will somewhere, sometime.
yeah, you're right. You're right. Because not only is it dangerous to, I mean, the thing could topple. It did, did Klondike Bill build this, or did we
No.
have some? He did not.
I had a construction company, scaffolding company, come in and do it.
Of course.
These the pieces, cross pieces there, I had special order.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't make them that long.
Yeah. Yeah. Klondike just built the ring, and of course, would Rubby's beard.
Okay, she did the triple cage now. Come on.
Would Rubby's?
Oh, the triple cage, that was not Dothan, Alabama. Where was Elvis from?
Oh, Tupelo, Mississippi.
Tupelo.
That's where that triple cage was, wasn't it? On top. Boy, that was a pain in the ass.
That was at
Tom Miller.
Walkers, to win the match, you must throw both of your opponents off of the scaffold. Introducing, first of all, from the dark side, along with manager Jim Cornette, Loverboy Dennis, and beautiful Bobby, the Midnight Express. Ladies and gentlemen, their opponents, along with Precious Paul Ellery from Chicago, a combined weight of 585 pounds, the Legion of Doom, the Road.
By the way, to let you know, it's just a side note as a ring announcer, and I did plenty of this when we went on tour. I just made up the weights.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, just made them up. I remember Gary Capetta would always bring out the card, and I said, Gary, why you bring out the card? He said, well, it's just, I don't know, it's like my security blanket. And I said, just make this shit up, dude. I said, that's what I do on TV. I said, so, but I really loved ring announcing, man. I had so much fun being the ring announcer. And so obviously the Road Warriors are waiting. God, they were immense, weren't they? Holy.
Oh, they were. And so unpredictable.
Yeah.
And you're wrestling them and you're going, oh my God.
Yeah.
They know one thing. And that's just try to run over you. Now I see the chain. We had it bolted down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Locking everything together.
This structure. You said you outsourced this. You had a company, a scaffolding company. Do you remember any details about that?
Where they were from or anything?
Just, what you were looking for. Did somebody draw it on a napkin and say, here's what we're looking for? The first time I remember hearing about a scaffold match was Jerry Jarrett. And I think Memphis probably gets a lot of credit for that. But how were you guys sold on the concept of, hey, let's do a scaffold match? And then how did you arrive on these two teams? I mean, I think if we're armchair quarterbacking it now, Midnight Express could have had a phenomenal regular in-ring match, but they had so much heat, you needed them to have their comeuppance, and who better than the Road Warriors, right?
That's correct. And also if you think about it, what a great match the Rock and Roll Express would have as far as a scaffold match with Midnight Express. I mean, that would have a lot more movement and you could spend a lot more time with it than with the Road Warriors, because the Road Warriors are so massive and, they were so pumped up, on the gas that, and I tell you right now, they were scared to death, Road Warriors.
Yeah.
Now Midnight Express, they'd worked a scaffold match. That's one, there again, involving Jim Cornette. They had ideas of, what when I had to figure out how to do it safely. Because, we did have them booked elsewhere.
Yeah, I know.
This is not the end. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, putting this together, the concept of whose idea it was. This is in Atlanta. So this is your town. You're here.
It was a combination, I'm sure, of Midnight Express and Dusty, because he was the booker. They knew how to work the scaffold. Road Warriors didn't. Convincing Road Warriors to do it, that was the challenge.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's funny how the Midnight Express probably were the least afraid of these two teams, but on TV it was portrayed the other way.
Right.
Yes.
Huh.
Oh,
Well,
Bobby.
And you're going to see that obviously they are going to work this to where they really don't fall from the scaffold to the mat. They kind of start climbing down, and then that's when they fall. The only one that fell really from the top was Cornette, but he did after he was hanging up there for a minute. So obviously this type of match, you don't want to go long. They go 7 minutes in this match, and we got 2 20-minute matches and 2 fine 20-minute matches to finish things up. But this was a selling. I'm sorry. This was a selling point, really. The whole thing. Night of the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
The pumpkins being thrown off the scaffold and hitting the pavement. In the promo.
That's right. We did a commercial, didn't we? Do a commercial with pumpkins.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Sure did.
It was a construction site, and you had the Road Warriors write everybody from the Midnight Express's name on a different pumpkin, and then we saw them explode in slow motion. Who would have been responsible for putting that together, Mr. Crockett? Do you remember?
Oh, we shot that. Well, Wayne Daniel was there. Emerson Lawson. Jackie was one of the cameramen shooting it. It was sort of one of those things that you just do. We had our people, so to speak. Well, we had our own camera, truck. If we needed the truck, and had park cans. So if I needed lighting, which we had very little outside, it was raw.
Yeah, it was
Definitely raw.
That's right. Yeah, I just that stuff that's raw to me is the wonderful stuff.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah,
it is. To me, it's like, look, if you watch these reality shows, they're not.
Of course,
they're so scripted. Whereas the stuff we were doing, like with Nelson Royal, that just you go out and shoot it, and to make up a lot of that. And Nelson made up a lot of that on the go.
Yeah.
He didn't have a teleprompter or anything.
Yeah.
Do you remember doing business with the Road Warriors, Mr. Crockett? Any stories in particular stick out about how easy they were or difficult they were or what have you?
I guess the easiest time with them is when they finish the cycle with the gas, you might say, when they were pumping up, they would be very touchy. And I'm sure people in your audience are going to say, what are you talking about, gas? Well, look at their arms.
Yeah, their necks and their and their pecs.
Well, Mr. Ellering was like their real life manager as well. Was that your experience that you talked a lot of business with him?
Yes. And, and he was the calm one, I guess you might say, the guy that never smiled.
Mm-hmm. Paul was pretty serious.
Yeah, he was, but he would not let them out of his sight.
Yeah. He was obviously, it was great for them.
Yeah.
Did Did Arn on any of his podcasts ever tell you about how he came up with the name of Eggplant for
No.
Lex Luger?
He did
He
not.
never told. Okay, he tells the story better than me. I should let him tell it, but it was in a 6-man match in L.A. with Paul Ellering and the Road Warriors against Tully Arn and Lex Luger when Luger was a part of the Horsemen. And according to Arn, Hawk was just drugged out of his mind and going crazy. Okay, so he was just he got the tag in. He was pounding on Luger, and he threw Luger into their corner. And Luger looks at Arn. He says, "You know how Luger was breathing really hard." He says, "What do I do? What do I do? He's out of his mind." And Arn said, "I'm thinking, Eggplant. I'm thinking. Hang on a second. Okay, tag me in." So that's where he came up with the name Eggplant for him. So, but he tells him much better than me.
Now there's the guy with the gift of gab.
Oh,
Arn Anderson.
man, still today.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Bobby Eaton's no longer with us.
That is a shame.
We lost him this year. Huntsville's finest. You got any good Bobby Eaton stories you can share with us, Mr. Crockett?
Nothing incriminating. Just Bobby was always had a smile and would stutter. You know, I remember when I tried to interview him on camera. I mean, that was I had to turn away. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Always screwed around with us at the set.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there goes Dennis. Dennis fell quite a long way away there.
Ooh.
Let's track it here.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think too that as many unbelievable matches that the Midnights would have over the years, this has to be their most viewed match ever. You know, they did their least wrestling here.
Right.
The success of this videotape and this pay-per-view and the talk of this match. I mean, what we're watching is called Starrcade 86 Night of the Skywalkers. So this is, you know, even though it's not necessarily the main event, it kind of is.
I mean,
title show.
Yeah, the Skywalker. Oh, all right, everybody, we got to watch this. Oh Lord.
Yeah, let's track this too, Conrad.
Yeah, this is. He's looking. What can I grab? What can I grab?
Jim Cornette is high atop the scaffold, laying face down.
Ooh.
Animal has him. Now he's hanging.
Oh, blew it.
Yeah, Bubba was not going to catch him.
And
as
the story goes, Dusty explained that day to Cornette, and then Bubba's going to catch you like they do the cheerleaders. And I guess as the story
he lied.
Lost him in the lights, and he tried to explain to a very upset Cornette, Jimmy, you fell so fast.
There was no way in that short period of time when he's hanging there was no way he was going to catch him.
No.
Because Jimmy was a big guy. Jimmy Cornette was a big guy.
Yeah, that's not a 115-pound girl falling.
Yeah.
That's a grown-ass man falling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was Jim Cornette too. You know, Bubba probably really didn't want to catch him.
All right, we're gonna show a replay here. Watch Bobby and Dennis fall because they take these are quite bumps too. I mean, Bobby's going to fall. I think Dennis falls first here. Nope. Yep. Here we go.
Loverboy Dennis, the first one to go down. Beautiful Bobby, not far behind.
Buddy, that was so close to being a bad situation. You know it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. You don't want to fall. I don't know because I never fell that far, but looks like you would not want to fall on your back, nor would you want to fall on your feet because you could break an ankle or blow out a knee like Cornette did. So yeah, it's just.
I don't want to be booked in a scaffold match, Tony.
No. And of course there were scaffold matches after that. Obviously, if you'll recall, David, we had in the WCW era, we had PN News.
The worst match ever. 91.
Yeah, the 91, the big scaffold match where he was so scared he just laid on the scaffold and gripped it and wouldn't move. Okay.
Seriously,
those,
Steve Austin
those
said that's
definitely
the worst match
bloopers.
of his career. You know,
It was the worst match of Steve Austin's career.
that's what he says. Yeah.
Wow. Doesn't surprise me. Here's another angle. We didn't at first. Oh, Cornette's got to grip it. And then
Where's Bubba?
He's in there.
He's not going to catch him. Bubba's not going to catch
But it's just a
him.
matter of time.
So there's a pretty famous book out there that Mr. Cornette put out, and he talks about all of his payoffs and whatnot. I'll look for that, but while I do look through Cornette's book, can you tell in your book what the gate was for this event?
Sure. Oh, he is going to pitch. Yeah, he'll pitch.
Yeah.
All right.
There's some good stuff.
I can tell you what
here.
the gross was. All right.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Let me look
Some
here.
good stuff here, man.
Oh, and how about this recap from the Great American Bash? With the
Is it-
parachutes coming in here.
What a tour it was. The greatest country and western stars from all across the country and the greatest wrestling stars in the world combining to celebrate the 4th of July for 14 nights during the month of July. The Great American Bash Tour 1985. And we're going to reminisce with you now for just a few minutes and look at some of the highlights of that great tour.
So as they're running through the Great American Bash Tour highlights, I want to mention here's what Jim Cornette wrote in his book about the gate. The scaffold match was booked third from the top underneath Nikita versus Ric Flair for the NWA title and Tully Blanchard versus Dusty Rhodes in a first blood match, but it was the feature attraction and what the event was named after. So it can be considered a main event as well. The card drew a sellout of 16,000 fans paying $307,000 at the Greensboro Coliseum, with an additional several thousand paying $70,000 at the Coliseum Annex for the closed circuit broadcast. There were less than 100 free tickets out for the show. The all-time record stood for 12 years until April 26, 1998, when WWE pay-per-view event in Greensboro drew 21,427 fans paying $341,270 in the Coliseum. But that was after extensive renovations increased the seating capacity by 5,000. And if you include those closed circuit attendants, the record still stands. In the Atlanta Omni, where half the matches were, including the scaffold match, were held, about 15,000 paid $300,000 to set the all-time gate record there. You had a closed circuit location in other cities, like Columbia, South Carolina, selling out for $35,000. Kansas City doing $32,000, Charleston, West Virginia doing $33,000, and locations in Jacksonville, Florida, Cincinnati, Norfolk, Charlotte, and Albany, bringing the total gate to just over $1 million, making it the first $1 million gate in the history of the NWA and the third biggest of all time behind the first two WrestleManias. The videotape, the first NWA tape to be released in conjunction with Turner Home Entertainment, was the first pro wrestling video in history to go gold with more than 50,000 units sold. It's safe to estimate that in this pre-pay-per-view era, over 60,000 fans left their homes on Thanksgiving night to see Starrcade 86 either live or on the big screens. How about that?
I agree.
Yeah.
But now I will say that you're talking about gross.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. So, yes.
The actual talent payoff for Jim Cornette, what we just saw, the big scaffold match, $10,045.
Okay.
So pretty good payday for how many minutes was that? I mean, really, you're paying for the big bump, but it's a 7-minute match.
Yeah.
Big build, and then the big bump, $10,000.
Yeah. He did say in there that was David Allen Coe. He did say in there that that they were on before Tully and Dusty, and that's wrong. They were on before the Rock and Roll Express and the Andersons.
Yeah.
And Nikita and Flair. That was incorrect. But that just, what the hell? What is
Well,
that?
I'm looking at the card.
Okay.
That was written, and They are, it has like Flair and Nikita,
Right.
Dusty and Tully,
Okay. So
and Midnight Express, Scaffold.
so he
And
goes
then-
off the book. Yep.
Yeah. Then you go Rock and Roll and Anderson's,
Right.
and then Valiant Jones, Wahoo, Rude.
Right. Yep.
So
So
yeah, they were the top three. They were
Yeah,
number three from
can
the
you-
top.
can you give us numbers from that book? Or do you mind?
While you're looking for that, I want to show you, this is the poster from that night. So when he says they were third, you can see, it's Flair on top,
Right.
Yeah,
Tully and Dusty, and then there's
Yep.
the Night of the Skywalkers.
that's right. Yeah. All right, I have 340,000, and then
And that's for what? For Atlanta?
I want to say that's Atlanta.
Okay. 340.
Yeah, because the 26th of November ticket sales, we had $304,435
Okay.
advance ticket sales there in Atlanta.
All right.
All right. Now this Greensboro's got me. It looks like 129,940 for on the 25th at Greensboro.
All right.
So I don't, he did not put a total down for some reason.
Okay.
I don't-
All right.
Yeah, because on the 24th, it was 112,900. So
So that does not include the walk up, I would think.
no,
Right.
the Atlanta include the walk up, the 340.
Yeah.
He's
So
got a, go ahead.
so Cornette's probably didn't you
Oh,
say
yeah, he's-
Conrad 600,000 for that the whole take for
How
that?
about the credits here?
I'm thinking that the credits were put here. It's kind of odd to put them in the middle of the show or before the main events.
We
I
were
don't
killing time.
That's what I'm thinking.
Killing time.
Killing time. They're saying, okay, we're not ready yet. Well, let's
Oh.
roll the credits.
Yes. Yeah, this is pucker factor for me.
Yeah. Okay.
This is pucker factor. Yeah. Kill time here. Yeah. Hey, Doug Dellinger,
Doug
cameraman.
He was a cameraman. Absolutely.
Yeah,
was.
Larry McGraw.
Larry McGraw, another former policeman.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's Tommy Edwards in Atlanta.
Yeah. Oh God, he was a pain in the ass too.
He went on to have a very good career with ESPN, by the way. I think
He
was
what? He did.
Yeah, Tommy may still work for ESPN. Not sure. There's Brenda Evans, our graphics girl,
Yeah.
worked
Wayne
in the
Daniel,
office.
Barbara.
Wayne and Barbara. Well, Barbara Daniel,
Yeah.
bless her heart.
Yeah.
Why was Tommy Edwards a pain in the ass, Mr. Crockett?
He wanted to be the man. And it's our wrestling show, and so he was energetic, he was good, but there again, he had, he just sometimes wouldn't listen. And especially once Turner bought us, oh God. He said, I am the man now. I am in charge of this.
Wow.
But that's when we ran out. Where were we? I want to say we were in New Orleans, and Jim Hurd, and we ran over time.
Yeah.
And Hurd was looking for somebody to kick, and I said, Jim, you're not going to kick me. We had nothing to do with this. Yeah, so go ahead.
I just think that, we had a comfort zone with the people that we had worked with
Sure.
for years. And then all of a sudden we end up in the TBS studios in 85 with a very brash, very ambitious, which he was, Tommy Edwards. And Tommy was a very talented guy, still is.
Very,
and,
yes.
and I still connect with him now and then on Facebook. And so I just think maybe he kind of rubbed the people the wrong way because anyway, he had his own way of doing things and we had our own way of doing things.
Right.
So, yeah.
And it was, and a lot of Turner people so this was an opportunity to, take a chunk.
Yeah.
And there again, too, at the same time, most of the Turner people hated us. You think about, Bill Shaw was, at the board of directors meeting. That's when Jack Petrick had left.
Yeah.
And so Ted said, all right, who's going to, take them? Who's going to take WCW? Nobody on the board, Turner people stepped forward.
Right.
So Bill Shaw, who was head of HR, did. And he saved us and made us what we became. Harvey Schiller, he just let us go crazy.
Yeah.
Bill, he knew how to manage.
Yeah. I have a lot of time for Bill Shaw. I agree.
Yeah. I used to spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
We'd have lunch every week.
Yeah. David, I don't know if you thought about this or not, but when I go back and I think about the days that we were at Turner and at the studio.
Yes.
And I remember comparing that to what we did on the road. In other words, before World Championship Wrestling, when we shot Worldwide and Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, we had that's right. We had our own people, and you saw the cameramen. Doug Dellinger was the cameraman, but your brother Jackie and Skeeter and all those guys.
Right.
Then we move into the studios, and I remember thinking, listen, I don't know much about TV at that time, but I know enough to know this, that it seemed like that the Turner people, and this has always been with me, the Turner people used anybody that they had on hand that day to run the camera.
Yeah, it's a weekend crew.
That's right. And it seemed like it seemed like we were like, okay, wrestling's coming in. God, we need some cameramen. Hey, by the way, before you go to lunch today, I know you're editing. Could you come run camera for us? It was like they just threw anybody in there to run camera for us. Now we got some pretty good people out of that. Ricky Lassiter, if you'll recall.
Right. Yes.
Tim Smith was another one that we got out of that. But there was a lot of people. I remember one time that all of us, Rick Roby showed up, who was a punter for the Dolphins, and they let Rick Roby run camera. And I'm thinking,
yeah, it's
what the fuck?
Like I said, they resented what we did to the office.
Right.
There was no room.
Yeah.
So you had sweaty bodies sitting in chairs and the tobacco cups, and there was only one shower, if I remember correctly. And you had to go through fans and whatever. And it was a bad situation. We did extremely well with a bad situation. But there again, if we had our own people, things would have run a little bit better.
Yeah,
probably a lot better.
Yeah. Just to talk about being backstage or being back in the offices where they. And by the way, if you're watching along with us, we're in the middle of the Rock and Roll Express and the Andersons in a cage in Greensboro. They're going to go 20 minutes. Yeah. But talk about in the back, in the offices, in the cubicles where the guys dressed and everything. One time I'm walking through back there. I don't know why I'm walking through, but I look and I stumble over Kamala, this 85, Kamala in full gear, laying on the floor, right?
Yeah.
With a cigar in his mouth. And I remember thinking, that vision is going to stay with me the rest of my life. And it has. Okay. And so if you're thinking, let's say that you got to go to work for Turner and they call you in for the weekend to do something and you got to go to your cubicle and wrestling's going on. And you go to your cubicle and there you see the giant Kamala all painted up with a cigar in his mouth. You're thinking, what the hell are these guys doing here? And why are they taking up our space?
Right. Yeah. And if you did come in, you couldn't get to your space because it was occupied.
Right.
And if you tried, Kamala, somebody would look at you and growl.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Yeah.
but 75 people, fans, that's all we're allowed in the
yeah.
studio. But man, did we do good? We did great TV.
Yeah, it was
Great,
fun.
I mean,
Great memories. Yeah, no question. I have a lot of fond memories of the Andersons. Obviously, Arn is still doing a podcast on this network with Conrad, and
right.
just still one of my good friends who I don't connect with enough. Ole is still living here in Georgia, down in Monroe, Georgia, I believe. Not doing well. Last time I checked.
In a wheelchair, right?
In a wheelchair, yeah. And I think
he has Alzheimer's
or dementia or something.
Yeah.
The last time I talked to him, he got on the phone. He wanted to talk about Danny Hodge.
Wow.
But anyway, it's just I really, really enjoyed my time with Ole Anderson to the point to where Jimmy Crockett used to reference Ole when he was talking to me is your friend Ole Anderson, as if to say, why in the hell is that guy your friend? But he was my friend, and I really got along with Ole. Drove him around a couple times, but as great as the Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express were, Conrad, you can chime in on this. This run with the Andersons they had was tremendous. This was a run that they had during the Super Summer Sizzler tour. The Rock and Roll Express and Rock and Roll Express and the Andersons on top. These guys could really go, man.
Yeah, and there again, there was not that much talking.
Right.
As we said, it's just, Ole would sort of look over at Arn, and you just sort of knew.
Yeah.
And Ole, I spent a lot of time traveling with Ole, and he talked a lot about Mother Earth, that magazine that was published near Asheville. He would, we'd stop there.
Right.
He'd go in, and his dream was to go back up to Minnesota and build a cabin and have his own fish and sawmill and never see a human.
Right. He built a house on that lake that is between South Carolina and Georgia, and I don't remember
Hartwell?
Lake Hartwell. Yeah, he built a house on there, and when he was working for us, and he came in one day, and he was in bad shape. His back was in bad shape. This was back in the 90s, obviously. And I asked him what was wrong, and he fell off the roof that day. Wow. And I said, can't you hire people to do your roof for you? He said, yeah, but I like to say I built my own house. So that's what type of guy he was, man. He was rugged. He was into nature. He had
and it was cheap. He was cheap.
Oh my God. I've told this story before, but he would say that back in the days that when he would travel a lot and he would get that some time at home, and not much time at home, as you know, with those guys, but he and his wife would go to the drive-in, and they would bring their own popcorn, and they would bring their own drinks and their own snacks and everything, because he didn't want to pay the money for the concession, although he could afford it.
Right.
Yeah. And he told me, well, we were going to TV one time, and I was dreading. So this had to be early when I first came back. He told me by the time it's all said and done, he expected to have like $4 million in the bank.
Not counting the money that he buried in the backyard.
Probably so.
So. I mean, he, the cash that he would work, he did his own taxes. A great mathematician.
Yeah, he was smart.
And he'd figure out, the mileage and receipts and so forth, and would take off the tax. He said, I probably got $1 million buried in the backyard.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He invested in Home Depot when it first came out.
Yeah. Oh, you can. I'll tell you what. You could talk stocks with him for hours.
Yes, definitely.
Hours. Yeah, that just amazing guy.
And another guy, Sandy Scott, stocks.
Right.
He Piedmont Airlines was his.
Wow, how about that? Piedmont. There's a throwback. Piedmont Airlines. A great Carolina-based airline that's no longer with us. Eastern Airlines, another great airline, no longer with us. Just remembers remembering all that stuff. All right, so we're seeing a tremendous match here, and the Andersons have focused on one thing, and that's the leg of Robert Gibson, which Conrad's kind of funny because usually Ricky did the selling, right?
Yeah, but everybody knew that of the two, Robert had the bigger leg. So hey,
All right.
Which leg are you talking about? Never
Yeah.
mind. Go ahead, Conrad. Okay.
here's the hot tag, and boy,
Yeah.
they made it an art for him, and he comes
Yeah.
in like a house of fire. He being Ricky Morton.
Yeah.
Ole Anderson, though, not only is he old school and very involved behind the scenes, but here he is, maybe in the twilight of his career, passing on the Anderson tradition and continuing to be a major pillar of the Horsemen. But that's what we saw on TV. Behind the scenes, what was he contributing here in '86? I mean, if Dusty's primarily the booker, what room does that leave behind the scenes for Ole Anderson in this era, Mr. Crockett?
Not much, but to me, it's only with Arn, helping Arn, making him, the Ric Flairs, the Gene Andersons, as far as Ole, he was a great teacher.
Yeah.
So that's what his contribution would be at that time. He was a natural bitcher. He would bitch all the time about anything and everything. But there again, totally, I respected him. That I really liked the guy.
Yeah.
And it was. Yeah, I guess like you said, twilight of his years, probably so. I think if treated the right way, he could go a lot longer. But I think he got disenchanted.
Yeah.
In some ways.
Well, he was when I returned in 1990. He was booking for Jim Herd after remember they brought back George Scott, and it didn't last long at all.
Right. Yeah.
And then Ole became the booker. Then Ole was just kind of, I think Ole was saying, as long as I've got a job and am making money, and I'm okay. And I know that then he became the booker, and that was a lot of fun for me with Ole as the booker.
Yeah.
But I agree.
He had very good, and he was old school.
Yeah,
old
man.
School booker.
Right. Yep. Maybe, well, it's hard to explain. It's hard to put in the words the Jim Herd era. But Ole was obviously a part of that. And boy, does Arn look like Brock here or what? His son.
Yes.
My God.
I'm curious from a hindsight's 2020 perspective. David, I don't know that you ever talked to your brother about the Rock and Roll Express in '86, but when I got to sit down with him nearly a year ago and we talked about 1986, he related a story where he was trying to explain he just didn't understand exactly what they had in the Rock and Rolls at the time. He recalled booking them for an appearance at Hardee's.
Right.
And that it was just miles and miles and miles of fans there to see the Rock and Roll Express. It exceeded all expectations, and they did what they could with the Rock and Roll Super Summer Sizzler Tour. And they tried to release a t-shirt, and they had a fan club, and eventually they had Ricky singing. They did a lookalike contest and a dream date, and they did the bus. But he still felt like there was even more opportunity. And he even talked about, Rock and Roll Express action figures. And of course, at the time, the WWF was making money hand over fist with some of these marketing and licensing concepts. But he felt like if there was a missed opportunity in '86, as hot as the Rock and Rolls were, perhaps in hindsight, the promotion could have been behind them even more. Do you feel like that was a missed opportunity as well?
Yes. Yes. I agree, because they were at the right place, right time, and so were we with them. They caught on. If you look at them, they're not as big as the Andersons, but their action, their movements, their dress, the younger fans loved them. I went out on some of those tours, and really, the outside, football stadiums, cheerleaders, the whole bit. It was just crazy. And two, I guess what, we did not have enough people.
Yeah, needed a bigger staff.
Right.
Yes, definitely could not do everything we wanted to do with what we had. And it was always we want to do what? Hiring people that would buy into it, not just people that wanted a job, people that would actually buy into, the wrestling figures or games or songs or, there's clothing. We just didn't have it.
You had Frances was doing marketing, but she was also running a baseball team,
right,
as well. So
yeah, and so she had that to contend with,
and she was short-staffed on her baseball team too.
Right.
So, so it's I agree, man. You had something. I remember. I think you talked about it too. Carowinds, when they went to Carowinds. Well, Ricky talked to we talked to Ricky Morton last week, and they went to Carowinds. And they had to shut down Carowinds and have them come back at a different time. Because
Tony, explain what Carowinds is. We got some international folks.
Yeah, sorry. Carowinds is it's a theme park that is located probably on the South Carolina, North Carolina border, south of Charlotte, around Rock Hill, maybe a little bit north of that. David, you'd probably know better than I.
Like a Six Flags.
Like a Six Flags, absolutely, with a roller coaster and. They had a day at Carowinds, and we announced the Rock and Roll Express is going to be at Carowinds, and it just it was out of control. The fans that were with them. So they apparently
it was like a rock band coming in.
Yes, that's exactly right. Great times.
I guess I'm going to interrupt here. I guess I'm listening to you guys that we're not paying that much attention to the match, and
right.
But I guess you really want to know about the characters, the wrestlers, the history, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't. Listen, fans can follow along. A lot of fans don't do a watch along with us.
Mm-hmm.
Some do, but for those of you that are watching with us, Ole Anderson right now is taking the measure of Ricky Morton, and I mentioned that looks like Robert was doing the selling, but here's Ricky Morton being Ricky Morton right now,
bleeding like a stuck pig.
Oh yeah,
begging for help.
Yeah, that he used to do that. He used to raise up and look at a girl in the first row and go, "Help me," and
bring him to tears.
Yes, absolutely.
He lives in Bristol, Virginia, Tennessee now.
Yeah, we just talked to him last week. He was a delight to talk to. He was happy to talk to us. And as all of us has aged, he sounded like Ricky Morton from 1986 to me.
Well, he still wrestles.
Does he ever?
Yes.
Yeah.
Robert.
He also mentioned to me he was 65 now. He's lying like a son of a bitch. He's older than 65. I can tell you that. Oh man, the Anderson Spinebuster, which was a tremendous move back then, and Robert had to make the save. These guys have torn it up. I know we've been reminiscing on Ole and the Rock and Roll Express and the years in Jim Crockett back then, but these guys are just tearing it up.
They're putting their time in because we're waiting for the plane.
That's right.
Waiting for the plane.
Yeah.
I guess you get fan mail as far as people asking questions about the history.
Yeah, all the time. That's kind of what brought us, if I'm right, Conrad, you can lend in on this. That's kind of what it brought us to going back and taking a look at 1986 the entire year. Now, there's some fans that don't appreciate it. I get it. some fans that grew up during the Nitro era, as I call it, and
Right.
want to hear more of that. But there's a big fan base that remembers this time and wants to go back and relive what's going on. So, and we get a lot of messages on Patreon. That's patreon.com/WHW Monday. And we appreciate all the fans there. And of course, we're out on the Cumulus Network each and every Wednesday as well. But we do get a lot of feedback. And Conrad, I know you and what's his name? Dave Silva, I believe is his name. You and Dave Silva obviously check the social media a lot, and the fans really appreciate this.
Well, it's just good to, especially since we've been watching all of 1986 together, fans really grew up with David Crockett and Tony Schiavone, and now we've got them back together again for the granddaddy of them all. And, a lot of people consider WrestleMania the marquee event in wrestling, and there's no doubt it is these days, but Starrcade actually predates WrestleMania. Mr. Crockett, if you could sort of explain how Starrcade came to be and your understanding of the super show, the mega show, if you will.
Well, you had to come up with something different. Thursday, Thanksgiving, Starrcade was a name that was created to say this is going to be special. Greensboro is always going to be special. Thanksgiving is always going to be special. So instead of just calling it Thanksgiving special, let's call it Starrcade. You're going to see all the stars. And Greensboro was always the hottest market for us, during that time. So, it was a way to catch fans, a hook, I guess you might say, too. And it worked, that you have special mat covers, skirts around the ring, special types of matches, blow-offs for the year. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That would be a good name for it. You blow off a lot of the angles that are created during the year at this event. And then also you're creating other angles coming out of this. You could, just like with the run-ins that we saw with Jimmy Valiant and some of the other matches that, okay, you could come back out with tags, singles, 6-man, and it would just go on and on.
Listen to the crowd here. The Rock and Roll Express is going to escape with the victory. They went 19 minutes and 3 seconds.
Cage gate. Still with a World Tag Team Championship belt. The Rock and Roll Express.
So the belts were an interesting topic of discussion in more recent weeks as we've been revisiting 86. We went from the traditional gold, almost like a cast eagle type championship, 7-plate world title. And then very briefly, we saw the debut of the blue tag team titles. And now here at the show that everyone remembers most of all from 86, it's like the 25th anniversary version of those cast 7-plate, like giant eagle championship, but they're two-tone. So it's the 25th anniversary. As far as the aesthetics or the look, did you have a favorite set of tag titles, Mr. Crockett?
I like the gold and silver.
Yeah.
It reminded me, a lot of that came from looking at cowboy buckles,
right?
The bronc riding. And I said, it works. It satisfies both.
Speaking of world titles and the look of those championships, we're about to see the biggest of them all, the big gold belt, as here he comes, the Nature Boy, out first as the champion. And as a reminder, even though everyone remembers Greensboro with Starrcade, this one's in Atlanta.
Right.
Main event is in Atlanta. In hindsight, was that a mistake, Mr. Crockett? A lot of people are critical of the idea that Starrcade ever left Greensboro, but Should the main event have been in Greensboro?
Personally, I think all of it should have been in Greensboro.
Yeah.
Technically it would help a lot, but there too, we were on TBS. We needed to make a statement in Atlanta. And so really that's why we're there, with this. We wanted to prove to them, that, you've got this event going on. It's being televised, pay-per-view, in theaters too, that, I'm going to say, just think if we had streaming then,
Yeah.
like we do now, what our total attendance would be. That would be fantastic.
We see Flair coming to the ring here. Go ahead.
Pardon, go ahead.
I was going to say that I remember the Nikita entrance here, and I remember talking to Dusty about that, and Dusty had told me that, and I don't know if it came across this way. He said, we're going to put a spotlight on Nikita, and it's going to get brighter and brighter. He said, when the spotlight first hits, there may be some fans that think that, oh, Magnum TA is really back and he's going to wrestle. But then as the spotlight grows brighter and brighter, you find out it's Nikita. Now, that's what he told me that he wanted. I don't know.
Let's track it here.
Track it here.
It's a terrible music, but we've got a cutaway shot of what looks like a sunset and an eagle flying. And of course, a lot of people remember, as we see, this is a training montage video now. We see a figure in the distance running on what looks like the beach or down
Virginia Beach. And that's and
there's Magnum's
mom. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we went and shot that one day.
Yeah. So again, it's almost as if you think that here he comes and he's going to make his way back, which obviously, David, we knew that he never would, but
no, yeah, we were just hoping that he would live,
right? Exactly. So there's Magnum, and that's the first blood match, I think, from '85.
The I Quit match and the steel cage.
Yeah, that's right. I Quit. I'm sorry, you're right. The I Quit match, which is
that he and Tully?
He and Tully. Which is
our year.
Which is
great match.
Still one of the great matches of all time. So they go from this. They're going to go to Nikita, anyway. I just remember Dusty talking about this moment.
As we see the midsection of Magnum TA there as he's running on the beach, it has a very Rocky-like feel. And of course, as the legend goes, Magnum TA was supposed to be the opponent here for Ric Flair. This was going to be the passing of the torch, if you will.
Right.
Of course, the other channel has a strong baby face. It is a baby face promotion. It's all about Hulkamania. And maybe in hindsight, Crockett was trying to throw their hat in the ring and, make Magnum TA their own Hulk Hogan, if you will.
Well, Magnum had that charisma that, he could have been a Hulkamania. I believe it.
Yeah, it was different but he had that, you're right. He had that charisma. He was more of a rugged, handsome than something that would appeal to the kids, I think, more to the adults. Am I right to say that than the kids?
Yeah. I guess you might say tweens.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah. Tough. Want to be a tough guy type thing. He came out dressed in jeans and always had his sunglasses. Well, many times had his sunglasses on. And this is cool. When you think about Magnum not being able to perform again or barely even walk again, this is it's quite a poignant moment.
Yeah.
With he and his mom.
All that was done in the truck there at Briar Bend.
How about that?
Production truck. Wow.
Nemo. By the way, we've been talking about Greensboro, and yes, I always agree that Greensboro should have been the place that Starrcade stays because Thanksgiving was a big deal in Greensboro, and it was a big deal at the Omni, too. They always said Thanksgiving was the biggest day in wrestling, as you know, David, but no one wrestles on Thanksgiving anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think the WWE does. I don't think they did before the pandemic. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Christmas night was
Christmas
always
night.
a fantastic night for
Yeah,
us.
yeah,
And you got tired of being in the house with all the kids and the new
Right.
toys and banging, and
right.
you want to go relieve your frustration.
Speaking of Greensboro, shameless plug coming your way. You ready? Wednesday, December 22nd, AEW at the Greensboro Coliseum. Thank you very much. Tickets on sale now at AEWTIX or Ticketmaster.com.
So let's talk about Thanksgiving here for a moment. I mean, this is the era where, this show is happening on Thanksgiving Day. What was there any sort of consideration for the fans or not the fans, but the actual talent who were missing their Thanksgiving with their families? Tony, in this era, would you do Thanksgiving with Lois and the fam and all that the day before or another time, or was it just earlier in the day and then you would scoot up to the building, or just talk me through that?
Yeah, it was earlier in the day because it was a day where I think the thought was you got cabin fever, that you've been, like David said, you've been on Christmas Day, you've been in the house. Same thing with Thanksgiving. You've been in the house, had an early dinner, and then everybody got in the car and went to wrestling.
Yes.
I traveled many, many years. I traveled from my home in Virginia. We ate Thanksgiving early. We always ate Thanksgiving dinner early. It wasn't because of wrestling. We ate Thanksgiving dinner early, and I would get in a car with my friends in my later years, my teenage years, and we would drive the 3 hours from my house in Virginia to the Greensboro Coliseum to see wrestling in Greensboro. That was the thing. We saw a double ring, 2 rings, battle royal one time with Andre the Giant, and we always got ringside tickets. We never got front row. For some reason, we got front row tickets that night.
Wow.
And I remember the lady, a couple of ladies front row said, "Hey, we'd never seen you here before." So obviously the people at the Greensboro Coliseum were regulars who sat in the front row. I said, "Yeah." I said, "I don't know why we got front row seats." She said, "Well, someone must have not shown up or canceled their tickets, and they gave them to you instead." I went, "Hell yeah!" So anyway, it was a Thanksgiving tradition, and for the people in Atlanta and the Georgia, going to the Omni was Thanksgiving tradition as well.
Yeah, you could count on it. You knew it was coming. You could
Right.
plan for it. It was not something that was spontaneous. It was not something that, like a rock concert or so forth, that, you could, in a year in advance, you knew it was going to happen.
The Nature Boy here is revealing the big gold belt, which also debuted in '86, but I think this is the debut of that robe too. Flair has told me before that at the time that was by far his most expensive robe ever. So he saved the best for last here with Starrcade '86. But the big gold belt would replace what most wrestling fans, Tony Schiavone included, most closely associate the NWA World Title with. It's been nicknamed by collectors as the Domed Globe. What do you think of the big gold here, Mr. Crockett?
Well, since I had a lot to do with having it made, I liked it. Really. I mean, Jimmy, we were talking about it. He said he wanted a new belt. I said, okay. And so I started looking, came up with some designs from different people. And there again, calling them up. And these were not wrestling, people. They'd say, "You want to do what? And what size?" And, it's not a little belt buckle. It's, it's a big belt. They got it done.
And it went through Nelson Royal shop, right, in Mooresville, the Western Wear store, and I think it was ordered through the Crumrine organization. Mr. Ortiz did it by hand, and it's really inspired by the old belt buckles that we talked about before, right?
That's right. Yes. And it actually had true gems in it, which were eventually knocked out, or, they were disappeared. So we put fake ones in, later on.
Did you think when you were constructing the belt, did you and Jimmy talk about, hey, there's a 5-year-old kid right now in Huntsville, Alabama, who eventually will want to buy that belt one day? Did you think about that?
No, it didn't. because I never thought we would want to sell it. You know,
Which by the way, has me asking, do you have any belts in your possession you'd like to sell? Because I know there's someone on the line.
Him, you know.
Okay.
I'm looking at.
Yeah, he knows about the ones behind me. But
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I took him to Chicago and showed him.
Oh yes, that's right. I remember you brought him out when we did our little thing on set.
Yeah,
which was a great weekend, by the way.
Oh, I had a good time.
Well done.
I'm surprised you two guys remember it.
Why?
Paul Bromwell, you son of a bitch! I know you're listening. He kept sending mules to us, Moscow mules.
Those were good.
Yeah, those were.
Now I hate to do this. When are you going to be in Greensboro?
December 22nd, Wednesday. Mark it down on your calendar.
That's what I'm doing.
And we're going to come to Raleigh too.
Ooh.
After the first year on January 12th at the PNC Arena in Raleigh.
We gotta make mention of Tommy Young here. He's our referee. Flair's got on new tights, new boots, new robe. Mm-hmm. He's got his first day of school look going here. And I think a lot of people, given the little video that we saw on Magnum TA and the idea that Nikita and Magnum were these bitter rivals, but he's now a babyface and he's here to fight for Magnum. A lot of folks probably assume he's going to combine the U.S. championship and the world title and leave as world champion. Do you think it was ever seriously considered? Because it does feel like if he's been this heel, given what's happening with Magnum and
right,
the feel good story, it does feel like, okay, let's send him home happy. It doesn't go that way. Do you think it was ever even seriously considered?
No, we were just in survival mode at that time, trying to figure out, okay, what do we do, since Magnum's out? And we're always, thinking about Magnum at the same time, but realized that we had to figure something out. And thankfully, believe it or not, Rick helped us out with that too, talking about, Nikita. And Nikita, stepped up.
Yeah, we talked to Nikita. We talked to Nikita last week, and he said for someone who had just really started in the business, like 4 years before this, Conrad, right, about 82, for him to be in the main event was kind of like mind blowing for him. But again, Rick had this ability to make a match with anyone.
Yes,
he did. He is bumping for Nikita now, buddy.
And the thing is, he's talking to him the whole time.
Yeah, right.
Rick is. So,
exactly.
Because, there again, Nikita is trying to figure out, like you say, he's awestruck that he's in this event. He wants to do his very best. And Rick just has to, and Rick at some point, will blow him up a little bit so he'll relax because he's gasping for air then he'll relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And Tommy's talking to him to help him out.
Because Rick just said so. Rick was shouting at the referee.
Yeah.
But he was telling the referee what to tell Nikita, which is, again, it is the magic of the business. Ric Flair right now is directing this whole thing. He is directing the whole thing. And he's basically calling everything. And he's doing it so subtly that you can't tell he's doing it. And Tommy Young's a part of this. It's just that to me, this is just a wonderful part of the business.
He's taking the strong points of Nikita and helping Nikita through this. And Nikita's doing great.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, and Tommy's all into it. Tommy Young.
In your mind, is Tommy Young the greatest referee ever, Mr. Crockett?
Why do you want to say that? Tommy Young is Tommy Young. Greatest. I want to say he's probably the most involved.
Yeah.
He really personally will definitely. Yeah, I would say, what is the greatest? You know, I'm not trying to hide from the question, but, you know, even Sonny Fargo had certain characters as a referee.
Stu Schwartz.
Yeah.
There's another name.
Sonny's was he wouldn't take a shower.
Oh, that's great.
Oh yeah, God, that's nasty.
So, and we've talked to Tommy Young, and Tommy will say, when you call him the greatest referee, he'll say, well, the Hebners, talking about both Earl and David, are the greatest referees ever. So
pay close attention here. I think in just a minute we're going to have a situation.
Is this where it happens?
Now, Nikita's exposed, and Tommy just helped him out.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Nikita's balls came out. You saw it, and Tommy saw it, and he pushed him back in.
Oh, I bet he loved that.
Well, that's being a pro.
Yep.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah. Wow, how about that? Man,
yeah,
you know
sleight
what?
of hand.
I didn't remember that. Conrad, good call for the attempt. Let's show that on replay.
Yeah, replay, replay. I know all the fans right now say they won't replay.
Yeah, we want to see
replay.
You can always rewind back if you're watching on video.
We want the ball shot. Give me the ball shot.
Wow.
I had just gotten back into wrestling. I'm going to guess 2012 or maybe 13. And when the network popped up in 14, or before it did, one of my friends were having a conversation about Starrcades and blah, blah, blah. And then he just casually mentioned, is that the one where Tommy Young had to tuck blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, wait a minute, what? Because I totally missed it. And then, of course, when the network loaded, a lot of fans were curious. Will they edit that out? And no, they did not.
No,
Got to see the real Russian sickle there, if you're into that sort of thing.
Tremendous. That is tremendous. So good job, Tommy.
Did you ask Nikita about that when you interviewed him?
No, I didn't know how to bring that up.
Yeah. It's great to see Nikita so happy and doing well these days. It really is. And he's had quite a life.
Does he still live in Kannapolis?
I believe, yeah, the Concord, Kannapolis area up there, in north of Charlotte. I think so, but he's still in North Carolina somewhere. I should Google him, look it up. I'm sure he's got, because I know he has a podcast, and
yeah, Koloff.net if you want to check him out.
Koloff.net.
Yep.
And again, here's a true story, because I got to know Nikita very well, as I did a lot of the guys. He legally changed his name to Nikita S. Koloff.
Yes, he did.
And because he grew up in a family without a dad, just he and his mom, and he did not want that last name, which, by the way, is Simpson. Did not want to carry that last name with him, and he also really he believed in the gimmick, man. He played it. He played it up more as well as anybody.
He worked so hard on his voice, that raspy voice,
right?
That, he can't change it now, with his.
Yeah,
even if he tried, his vocal cords.
He's a little bit better than he used to be, but he's quite a character now. Which, by the way, we asked him what it meant, and he said it remains a secret.
Mr. Crockett, the weirdness of working in professional wrestling, the egos, the hurt feelings, the paranoia, just working with the talent. Nikita's still very young in the business here, and now he's the top spot, the main event of Starrcade against the NWA World Champion, Ric Flair. Do you remember did it ever go to Nikita's head? Did he ever take it too seriously?
No. He was humbled by the fact that he was going to wrestle Rick for the World Championship at Starrcade, in the main event. It was a great opportunity. He rose to the challenge, and this match, also helped him with his future. He's a tough son of a bitch.
So you mentioned earlier that your brother is going to be on a plane with Dusty Rhodes as they try to get from the Greensboro Coliseum down here to the Omni in Atlanta. When they arrive, does Jimmy come straight to the truck? Does he go to the back?
Goes to the back.
Okay.
Goes to the back. We are in touch with them. Freddie Floyd, who was the main pilot, would radio a message, let's say, to the tower, and they in turn would give us different times of when they would arrive, how close they are. And then once they could touch down and call, they would. So, it's like, stretch it. That was the hard time, that being in the air. And, that is a factor that we couldn't control. A lot of this you can, but there was so much that could happen.
Yeah.
The great Freddie Floyd.
Oh, yes.
What a pilot.
The career of Nikita Koloff was criminally short. In hindsight, just given how hot the World Wrestling Federation was, how hot Hulk Hogan was, the idea that Vince McMahon was really running a babyface territory and he was looking for, monster heels. He was looking for a heel factory, if you will. Given all that was going on with the Cold War and just what we know about Vince being a quote unquote body guy, were you ever concerned, Mr. Crockett, that, boy, what if Vince wants Nikita? I mean, because Hogan Koloff at a WrestleMania, not too far removed from Ivan Drago, Rocky Balboa, Rocky IV. That seems like that would have been a home run for Vince.
You would think. I don't know why he didn't do it. We always were concerned about, Vince is going to come in and offer a ton of money, to talent. You look at, that's what happened with Roddy Piper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Piper, the first Starrcade, and then that was it. Yeah.
And, Piper, being the true gentleman, he said, I will not come back to this area for him. I will, and his career took off with Vince, which I can't fault him for that. There's certain things that we could provide and certain things we could not at the time. I think in a lot of ways we were playing catch up when we should have seen it years before. But we didn't. Hindsight's 2020, right?
Yeah,
sure.
David, when the company would be sold to Turner Broadcasting, I don't know, we've had you on before, but when the company was sold to Turner Broadcasting, you were, as far as members of the family, more involved in the new WCW operations than anyone. Jimmy was too, to a certain extent. Jackie still ran camera. Francis really wasn't that involved. What was your feelings once the company was sold and now you work for Turner Broadcasting? Were you relieved that maybe the pressure of running the company was off of you, or were you sorry to see it go? What were your feelings?
Oh, I was definitely sorry to see it go. I fought it tooth and nail.
Really?
Sale. Yeah, I did not want it at all. Matter of fact, the blonde-headed gentleman in the ring did not want it.
Mm-hmm.
He said, David, I will do with you whatever needs to be done. To not go to Turner.
Right.
And I was really tempted to take it chapter 11 and, basically start out, start fresh and, go with our syndicated shows in the area and,
right.
Expand for there. We had a TV truck.
Yeah.
We had certain things that we could do, and an area that was doing well. We did need 2 offices, one in Dallas and that's what sent us over the end. The expense of that office, the expenses that we inherited from Mid-South Wrestling.
Yeah.
2 planes, he had Falcon 20 and G1.
Oh yeah. Flew on both of them many times.
Matter of fact, the day Jimmy bought the Falcon, Stardust, by the way, Jim Babb from Jefferson Production, WBT, came to me and he said, David, we want to help you. We want to buy in to this company. That would have been the saving grace.
Yeah, Jefferson Pilot, right?
Yeah. Production. They had his huge production facility.
Sure did,
and today still does.
Right.
But Jimmy had already made his deal with Turner, which I did not know at the time, and he turned it down flat.
Wow.
Yeah. So wouldn't even talk to Jim Babb, and to this day I see Jim still. Right. And he goes to St. Peter's where we go, and we talk about it every now and then.
Wow, that Jim Babb story is a great story, David.
Yeah.
So there you saw it. Tommy Young just took a big spill onto the outside, and he's hurting pretty good.
Yeah. So who's going to take his place? Got to have a referee.
I think Scrappy McGowan.
Scrappy is going to come in?
I think so.
Okay. We've seen Scrappy on some TVs, but not many. And maybe that's why we started seeing him on some TVs leading up to this, because you're going to see him come in. Well, David, put a wrap on that one. I just think you obviously made the most of it and did quite well with WCW all those years.
Tony, I had to deal with my brother.
Yeah.
And so I could deal with the Turner people.
Right.
Really, I firmly believe that's what happened.
Yeah.
Frances, because she wanted to do the merchandising thing with Turner. Well, they had their whole division.
Right.
And they were going to, and then Jimmy, with
Scrappy.
Jim Hurd and Jack Petrick, he went in there and told him, you need to do this, and this. And they sort of looked at him and said, goodbye.
Yeah.
Send him home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Down goes Scrappy. Russian sickle.
Wow. 2
all
referee
right.
bumps.
So who's next? Who's gonna?
Tom, look at Tommy. Tommy dramatically pulling himself up.
It's going to be a double DQ. And this is a non-finish for Starrcade. Oh, and there you see.
Yeah.
Big bump as Nikita pushes him down. And
you got need.
Twice, and he calls for the bell.
Yeah, hindsight 2020, it would be nice to have Nikita pin Rick.
Yeah.
Him not see it.
Right.
You could go down and fans or you could do like a 1, 2, 3, and
wow,
could have happened. Yeah.
He is wiping out everybody. Wiped out the referees. We got 3 referees in there now.
Jimmy Garvin just came in there. Looks like
Jimmy Garvin. There, I believe there's Big Bubba. They're holding Nikita. Bill Dundee, who, by the way, just wrestled Sam Houston there at the Omni. I like guys in jeans with their shirts off. It's like a group, a singing group. Ronnie Garvin. There's Bobby freaking Jaggers. Oh my God. Wow. I love that. Nikita breaks through, leg dives him.
Yeah. This is good.
Yeah, this is good. Finish is not good, but the end is pretty good.
But if
they
maybe if I had one of the Rock and Roll Express come in and do a 3 count.
Yeah.
Like on Rick and but it's not a referee.
Yeah. Well,
Hindsight 2020.
Of course it
that's
is.
Yeah.
That's what we're able to do here by watching the stuff that's 35 years old now.
Yes.
Fans standing at the Omni, all those orange chairs at the Omni, and
I do want to ask though, Mr. Crockett, you know, Starrcade 83, of course, was the Flair for the gold, the very first one. Harley Race would drop the world title to Ric Flair. It starts Flair's second run, and really he became the nature boy after that we know. I mean, he was the top dog after that. The win he had in 81 didn't instill a lot of confidence, but when he wins it at Starrcade 83, he's the man. But then we come back at Starrcade 84, and Flair beats Dusty with Joe Frazier stopping the bout for blood, so a non-finish.
Right.
And then Starrcade 85, the follow-up effort, it's a rematch with Flair and Dusty, and it looks like Dusty wins the title, and he's congratulated by a bunch of wrestlers, but then, of course, the belt winds up going back to Flair when the decision is overturned.
Right.
And now we're doing a double DQ. It starts to feel a little bit like, wait a minute, is Starrcade what we wanted it to be? Or,
All right. Wait, you better remember, it was supposed to be Magnum.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Magnum there. All right. So, you know, it could have, we could have had a different type of finish, you know, similar to let's say the Dusty one, where Nikita gets his hand raised, but it's not, you know, legal in a way. And, you know, and then you have the afterbirth or whatever but there again, you know, Magnum was supposed to be there. We are trying to figure out what do we need to do? You don't want to kill Rick and you don't want to kill Nikita.
right.
You needed, you know, no, you'd never like a double DQ or anything like that.
let's take a listen here.
Yeah.
Over the Midnight Express on that scaffold. I've never seen a match like that, Tony. What a great
What about Paul Jones getting his head shaved?
Well, I tell you, Big Mama was a happy lady that night, and Paul Jones ended up with that bald head that Jimmy Valiant had promised his people for so long.
And I think we saw one classic match when we saw the World Tag Team Champions of Rock and Roll Express take a tremendous beating from the Andersons, but still come up as the World Tag Team Champions.
All in all, a great night here. We saw the United States Tag Team Champions, Ivan Koloff and Crusher Khrushchev, defeat the Kansas Jayhawks. All in all, a great Starrcade 86.
It was a great Starrcade 86. Only one way to cap it off to relive the highlights that you have seen here tonight. Let's take a look at the highlights of Starrcade 86, the Skywalker.
I want to mention, Tony, the next night, the hits kept coming. You guys were in Richmond, Virginia. You had 9,000 folks there.
Wow.
You know, no rest for the weary.
Yep.
And Richmond was that's wrong. Let me pull this one up.
Oh,
$95,000.
How about that?
Richmond, 95.
All right. By the way, this video replay that we are seeing was put together by Wayne Daniel in the truck using reel-to-reel machines, no edit machines, no edit bays, no computers. He just went from reel to reel, and he was, as the matches were going on, he was putting this stuff together. So he
would do a what do you call it, a stop point, or and so he could spin back to it quicker.
Yeah, right. Just it was amazing stuff that Wayne could do. Of course, like you said, you talked to him for 10 minutes and you had enough of him. But because he just,
hey Tony, he lives in Atlanta.
Good.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't have 5 hours out of my day to talk to him. Okay. Okay. But this is Wayne Daniel doing all this. So good stuff.
Really, I had some fantastic people to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone, it wasn't any one person could do what we did. It took, everyone had to buy into it. I think some would buy into it and gripe the whole time, but they'd still buy into it.
I think the fact that we we're able to like do things like this without some of the high tech that was out there today and put this together. Again, it's old school stuff that I freaking love. Let me ask you if you know this. We had a lot of girls in the office. We had Pat, we had Pat and Brenda.
Right.
And who are the other girls? Who was the other girl in the office? Was it Ann? I don't know.
Yes.
But
Yes.
are they still with us? Do you know? Do you know anything about them?
I think Pat is still with us.
Okay.
All right. I know that Dave Johnson, he had a stroke, but he is still with us. He lives up towards the Mooresville, Lake Norman area.
And his wife was like our receptionist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
But they're doing well.
All right, good. I do think about those people often, and
Right.
because it's when I started in the business.
Yeah, I think Brenda passed away.
Okay. Yeah, I think I heard she had a stroke and her health was bad. I
Yes.
heard that.
Oh, by the way, Jackie.
Let my family save your family some cash. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket, but we will save you money. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of how much. SaveWithConrad.com.
Crockett he just got out of the hospital maybe about a week ago. He is not doing the best in the world.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
His legs have he's got swelling in his legs that it looks gross.
Yeah.
It really does. He has to use a walker to get around. He can't drive. He can't really walk that far. And they're just trying to figure out what to,
Well, I tell you what,
him.
I'm going to call him this weekend. I am. Thanks for that.
All right.
I called him after Jimmy passed away, and we talked very briefly. So if you talk to him next time, tell Ruthie to send me more salsa.
We talk to Ruthie about several times a week. Have you had her blackberry jam?
No, but I had.
See, I get a case.
Son of a. But I got her salsa, by the way. That was meant for you. If
yes,
you recall.
yes, I know, and I'm ticked off because I don't have any salsa.
Good stuff, David.
Yeah.
Well, boys and girls, I don't know what I expected today, but this exceeded all expectations. I can't thank you enough for the time today, Mr. Crockett. We've had
no, it's me. Really, I have to thank you guys. This is terrific. I get goosebumps. It brings back a smile to my face. And I need you to send me Tony Khan's email or phone number because I gotta call him. You
got it. I'll do that to you.
I gotta call him.
All right.
Yeah, I can't leave it alone. I gotta ask the question and either answer it or put it to bed.
You got it. I'll put you in touch with him.
Okay.
I don't know that you guys know this, but as we're recording this today, because to give a peek behind the curtain, we're recording this on Sunday, November 21st. Does that day ring a bell to you, Mr. Crockett?
Sunday, November 21st.
On this date, 1988, Ted Turner bought Jim Crockett Promotions.
Whoa.
Today's the day. Today's the anniversary.
How about that?
I'm going to drink.
Have just one, though. Don't have the 15 that you had at Top Guy Weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when are we going to do that again?
We're doing it every year. And now that I know that you had as much fun as we did, I'll make sure that you're a part of the festivities. Because
listen, definitely.
Fans just absolutely love getting you and Tony together. And I feel privileged. I got to be the first listener today. And we just thank you guys so much for what you did for all of us in 1986. And it's been so much fun to relive all of this year, Tony. This was just a fun idea, but as we're winding down the year, this has been some of the most fun we've had on our podcast ever.
We always have a good time getting together, you and I, but I agree. Especially this one and last week, being able to talk to some of the people. And remember, Starrcade has been great, and it's always great connecting with David.
Yeah.
He's always.
I'm going to have to. Can I go back and listen into some of those? I'd love to hear what's Ronnie Garvin and those guys. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, we can.
That is something.
We can have Dave Silva, if he's awake, send you the link.
He says he gets up early.
Yeah, bullshit.
He said if I had a problem, he said, I get up early. I'll talk to you.
He wakes up at 6 a.m., but he has to go back and forth, try to roll out of bed, and finally gets out at 7.
Tony, on that note, I look at the clock and I realize it's about that time.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time, but here this week, looking back at Starrcade 86, just like David Crockett's supply of salsa, we're desperately out of time. We'll see you next week on What Happened When. On Wednesdays, we're on the Cumulus Podcast Network, but on Mondays, we come to you on
Patreon, patreon.com/WHW Monday, and of course, adfreeshows.com. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on What Happened When.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.